welcome back
Welcome
to
back.
another installment of everyone's favorite Three Homos and a Pussy. I'm Tennyson.
You think we're ever gonna
and
change the name?
No, why? It's a great name.
It is a
At this
great
point,
name.
it is a good name. I feel like at this point, it's kind of become iconic, at least in a small
Yeah.
group of people.
It's iconic to the 8 people that have ever seen it.
Yeah, the 8 people that watch us.
Oh, editor's notes. Cav, insert the Jim Sterling ranting about iconic.
But do you know why Ubisoft doesn't call its actual iconic shit iconic? Because when something is iconic, you don't have to tell us how iconic it is. It's inherent in the thing. Being iconic means having the confidence to let others say you're iconic, like I do. And it's supremely iconic of me to let others say I'm iconic.
Oh no,
You know
should we watch a Jim Sterling video sometime?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Just anyone. It doesn't even need to be gay, although it's going to be gay.
It's gonna be...
Summarize. That'd be great,
he has some really
if I can
crazy
encourage
ones
him.
where he compares Republicans to Nazis and stuff.
Oh.
Because he really went off the rails once he decided he was non-binary or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
I can
that's not
imagine.
surprising. I noticed a pattern with people who become part of the Rainbow Coalition, and Danimal gets that reference. Who become part of the Rainbow Coalition, and then they go and also have a Twitter account, and then they go off the rails.
And you start,
I guess
you
that's
start wearing wigs and looking very unattractive.
That's not Jim Sterling's natural hair.
I was going to say, like, to be fair, I don't know.
I feel like
I'm sorry. What's Jim Sterling's name now? Is it still Jim Sterling? Or
like
is it
Narcissa or something? Something.
Yeah, I
like,
think he
something
still
sissified.
Goes by Jim Sterling. It's one of those weird ones where they haven't totally divorced themselves from their last name.
It's James. I'm sorry. Hang on. It's James Stephanie Sterling. Is the name now.
Why is it always?
Can we call it? Is his catchphrase now Jim Sterling Darter? You know, instead of son.
I don't know that reference. You know, I never actually watched a lot of Jim Sterling.
I could tell.
Seems like when Jim Sterling came out as non-binary, he suddenly kind of started getting fatter, more Jabba the Hutt-like.
Possible. Though he was pretty Jabba the Hutt-like to start with. So
yeah, he was always
So I noticed we're just kind of putting off this Jessie Gender video.
That's what we're gonna watch today.
Who's Jessie Gender, and why isn't gender spelled with a J? This is a terrible mistake.
Why do I care?
If any, it should be consistent. Either Jessie Gender with a J or with a G on both.
Who is Jessie Gender? Do you guys know of Jessie Gender before? I just found this video.
Yes, actually,
I had never
really cringe stuff from Jessie.
I think I've seen short clips from their.
I was never I never watched this side of YouTube, so I have no idea who this person is. I don't like watch gay stuff on YouTube.
That's right. Only the straight and narrow.
Purposely try and look
that's what X videos is for.
I personally try and look for like dissenting opinions and try and watch them the whole way through.
Ow! No, see, the only things that you got to watch on YouTube are restoration videos of old antiques and cats doing fun stuff.
Or two dudes building a pool in the jungle. I've been getting recommended those videos a lot lately.
Danimal, I'm pretty sure that's just what Nick Ricada watches on a daily basis, except for like.
Oh, he's got great taste.
Hold on 1 second.
Instead of building a pool, they're pitching a tent.
You really had to squeeze that pun in there, didn't you, Amazon? It's just
we fired off right after one another. I gotta squeeze it in somehow.
So just kind of looking at like Jessie Gender's like videos and what Jessie Gender does, they seem to be a big Star Trek fan, but like not cool Star Trek, like new,
like fringe Trek.
Oh
yeah,
that's weird.
I watch the new Star Trek vicariously through Red Letter Media.
Same.
I dipped out I watched the first episode of Discovery just because I was curious, and the there was 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
3 Star Trek
Discovery,
movies. I don't even remember the third one. The third one's fucking insane. I don't even remember it.
The movies by J.J. Abrams?
Yeah, what was the third Star Trek movie about?
Into Darkness?
Beyond. So there was Star Trek Into Darkness, and then Star Trek Beyond, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't watch any of them because, like, I don't think J.J. Abrams' Trek is good Star Trek at all. Because it's like J.J. Abrams and Alex fucking Kurtzman. Okay, those are the two people that should not be allowed to make any science fiction or action films ever, because they will just make it 90 minutes of explosions and people screaming and more explosions and lens flare.
Listen, Michael Bay can do it, so why can't they?
And also, don't forget social commentary.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But of the most heavy-handed, obvious, stupid type, not the kind that was sort of interesting. It's going to be January 6th footage played over a Star Trek episode.
All right, are we ready to
I'm ready.
roll? Let's roll into this video. So we didn't even set up this fucking video.
Yeah, who cares?
Hey guys, let's set it up real quick. It's another Kink at Pride video. It's not
another one.
But it's just going back to the beginning, really.
Back to the origins.
It's a little different. There's not a lot of history to it, like the other ones, like wrong history to it, like the other ones were. But there's a lot of creepy things about consent a little later on that I think we'll enjoy.
Ooh.
Yep.
That doesn't sound good.
Oh yeah, you bet your bottom dollar it doesn't sound good.
Oh no.
Bottom. All right, let's roll.
Yay.
Warning: brief strobing light effect from 103 to 112.
No Japanese children within.
The first time I ever went to a Pride festival, I was scared and nervous. A little baby trans. I had just come out a little bit before to just a couple of my friends. I had never really gone out in public as a transgender person. And that day, with my friends for safety, I had gone out with just a little bit of overdone makeup on my face, not very well, and a dress that did not fit me well at all. A dress that I just scurried into Walmart, just quickly said, oh, I'll buy this, and then ran out and didn't even try it on. At that time, even seeing someone kiss someone of the same gender in front of me was something scary and subversive and new, just to see it.
Same gender. Come on.
Same gender.
Kiss someone of the same gender. Also, I feel like, so this is a really minor thing, right? But, like, I don't feel very comfortable with the use of the phrase baby trans.
Yeah, I winced at that.
That's just really creepy. In my opinion, like it's
I mean,
very,
whatever.
I think it's trying to be overly cutesy, but it just comes off as really weird. Like I wouldn't want to use trans and baby in the same sentence generally.
That might be your
yeah, like
well, not today. Not in the modern climate. Oh dear.
No, I understand. But I mean, I understand what they mean. It's like, yes, this is my. After I became trans, now this is my real life. How I can finally be who I am. My life begins now. I'm like a baby. Still not very good visualization.
I can't stand it. I just want to say, I think it's the reason I paused the video right now. I can't stand that fucking same gender crap.
Call them gay.
Oh, gay. It's same sex attraction.
Yeah,
it's homosexuality.
Same sex. It's not homogender-uality.
Animals people fought so you could just say gay.
Let's say gay.
The animal died for all hetero sins, so we say gay.
I've died a little every episode we've done.
And it was all for our sins.
And it added up, right?
Yeah, it compounds over time. That's how that works.
So to go to Pride and see people in assless chaps and leather and gimp outfits and all the insanity of it, dear God, it was so intimidating. I was so nervous. I was like a deer in the headlights. It was honestly a little bit too much for me. Well.
Yeah, well. But maybe that's a bad pause. But I just want to kind of make this point because Jessie was saying that she had gone to Pride. She saw a lot of very explicit things. And it kind of made her uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's like kind of the reason you don't want to do all the kink at pride crap, because I'm assuming when Jessie Gender says, I just come out as trans, that they were pretty young. I'm just assuming that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Like maybe like I'm going to say like 16, 17, 18 maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah,
But
and
what
that adds
you
that adds a whole another dimension to it that I'm sure that we'll get into in the course of this video. But
I mean,
that's become a sort of recurring subject of discourse of whether at what age is appropriate to go to a pride event.
Well, here's the thing though. Here's the point that I was getting at with the young kids that are kind of like just kind of discovering that about themselves. I think there's going to be a certain amount of them that do go to a pride event and see people like being extreme, and that they're going to really kind of turn that in on themselves, not act it out, but be like, man, I don't really want, like, this is what being gay is. Like, I don't want to fucking be gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of brings back the connotation of gay being,
yeah, like
derogatory.
Derogatory, weird, deviant. Like that's like I'm glad that Jessie Gender is very, okay with their body and being open and all this kind of shit. But it's not the majority of people, and it's probably not the majority of gay people either, because they're, just normal people like everybody else. So it's going to be off-putting, and especially when you're tying it to like this identity that they're kind of fresh with and coming to terms with. I mean, I just think it's going to have a negative impact if that's what we're talking about here. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Am I making sense?
No, I agree. Like, we mentioned it in the previous video about how, like, the deviancy, it's a bad representation of gay culture, especially when we present it to the broader public. It paints the bad picture, and I completely agree that it feels regressive towards the motivations and the progress that gay pride has made over these decades. And it's like, what are we doing now?
Yeah, and it's especially somebody who's like kind of coming to terms with that with themselves, and that this is what they're bombarded with. And I don't know if I was coming to terms with it now, I think I
take a different view of it.
Yeah, I think I'd have a rougher time with it.
Yeah,
than I did already.
I was actually talking to a normie, and at first they couldn't understand why I wasn't a big fan of pride, because I haven't been in a long time. But then I mentioned kind of the degeneracy, and immediately it clicked. I think most normies, including including people who are more on the left, because this was that person.
Right.
I think everybody kind of has this sense that it's a little bit weird, but they don't want to.
No one wants to rock the boats necessarily, but
Yeah.
Look at me now.
Rather than not.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah, I would prefer not to do that.
I'm not interested.
Uh-oh.
Hello, interwebs. Yes, I know that this costume is a little bit extra. Like, very extra even for me. It's not exactly what you would call my normal attire, as you would say. Trust me, I do actually have a point to make with why I'm wearing this outfit that I will make by the end of the video, but...
Anybody want to take bets on what that point is?
I thought she was going to say, trust me, I would take bets on whether or not she had this before the video, or if she bought it for the video. What do you think?
I don't know. What's the bets you think that's the point she's trying to make with the costume? Anybody else?
That it's acceptable for like
deviancy.
It's affirming of gender.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it reclaiming your sexuality and being brave and stunning?
No.
Brave and stunning.
Those are all good guesses. Those are all good guesses. Let's see.
But for now, I know there are several of you who probably enjoy me wearing this outfit, so this is for you.
Well,
and you know who you are.
Yeah,
Enjoyment's a big
Kevin.
term. It's a
But
broad
rainbow
term.
There are dozens of us. Dozens.
There are twos of us. Twos of us.
No, don't shave her body. She's fine.
Pasties aside, it's another day, so we have another discourse. And since Twitter has yet again spun the wheel of discourse, it looks like it's landed on, yes, kink in Pride, and whether or not kink should be allowed at Pride celebrations this June or not. Today's current discourse mainly seems to stem from this viral tweet, which says 3 things that I 100% agree with, and says for its 4th thing, quote, "Please don't bring your kinks/fetishes to Pride.
Let's see. A few reminders for Pride. Large corporations just want your money. I think we can all agree, right?
Yeah.
Lesbian
Absolutely.
all right. Lesbian exclusion is ugly.
And certain
I mean,
lesbians too are.
Yes, but also, I guess. I mean, if we're talking about, I don't see why you wouldn't want lesbians at a gay event. I mean, they are gay women. I mean, they're women, but that imperfection aside.
I mean, they might be breaking window. Oh,
number 2 implies that lesbians exist, and I strongly disagree.
As we all know, as Twitter told me, all women are bi. You have to guess whether it's sexual or polar.
I'm just saying, there's probably going to be a lot of broken windows along the street from all those pop flies from slow pitch softball if you invite a bunch of lesbians.
Ooh. Not to mention, like, the trail of used Birkenstocks and the leftover Winona Ryder, the pictures of Winona Ryder with the weird stains on them.
Although, you know what? You might score some free Lilith Fair tickets.
My money's on the Birkenstocks.
There's a plus.
Pretty sure my mom has a pair of Birkenstocks, or had a pair of Birkenstocks, which is suspicious. I mean, she was also in a lesbian relationship for a few years, but that's beside the point.
Wow, so she just got the rewards, reaped the rewards.
Yeah, she really wanted those Birkenstocks.
Can't quite leave the life behind.
3, trans women of color are the ones that lead the fight for our rights.
Oh, is that what walk means?
Yeah.
Walk.
God, that sounds like a slur.
It sounds like it's either a rare exotic bird. It sounds like it's a rare bird or some kind of ethnic epithet.
It is an ethnic epithet. It's women of color.
You know what fucking ethnicity would be affected by the word walk, okay? That's the Asian in the room, all right? Let me tell you.
This is the religious part of the declarations where you have to say that trans women of color specifically are the ones fighting for your rights, even though there's not strong evidence that this is true in any meaningful sense.
Yeah, I guess it's another Marsha P. Johnson reference.
It's just
right.
Yeah, it's just a thing you say because you're supposed to say it. Intersectionality demands it of you.
Yes.
And it means
Dan,
nothing.
why don't you give us like a quick refresher on Marsha P. Johnson and why the whole trans women of color thing is bullshit?
Oh, okay. Hang on. Give me 1 second.
Transers lead the way.
So Marsha P. Johnson, whose actual name is Malcolm Michaels Jr., wasn't a trans woman.
Oh, okay. First of all,
he was a drag queen, or he mostly identified as a transvestite, I guess.
You mean like RuPaul?
Right.
Yes.
And then the myth is, as it's reported by NPR for some fucking reason, is that Marsha P. Johnson was in the Stonewall Inn, and I guess the cops had a bullhorn and was telling everybody to get out, and she threw a shot glass at the mirror and said, "I want my freedom," or something. But it turns out Marsha P. Johnson wasn't there. I think she was busy slamming heroin uptown.
Oh, so they're a liar too.
Oh wait, no, no. Marsha P. Johnson never even said that.
Oh, what?
That they were there. They even said in interviews, they're like, "Yeah, I showed up like a few hours later after the riots had already started."
Yep.
But this started like
generated by someone.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This story, it started like 3 years ago. I never even heard it before that. Like Marsha P. Johnson, kind of a small, inconsequential figure. I mean, not really that important of a person, but man, is Marsha P. Johnson important now because ticks all those boxes, those walk boxes.
Also got murdered, probably.
Maybe.
Yep.
They're probably dead. I don't know.
They were found drifting in a river.
Yeah, with like
a head wound.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we don't really know what happened there, but anyway, that's Marsha P. Johnson.
Hold on, I just want to say something. What is it with like every term that comes out of the progressive types sounding like it's supposed to be a slur?
I know, every single one, right? Every single one. BIPOCs.
Because they are their own worst enemy.
Yeah, they're pretty good at shooting themselves in the foot.
Or it sounds like a slur.
What's BIPOX? Like BIPOX?
That's what bisexuals get when they have unfortunate sex.
That's the monkeypox, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh.
By Black and Indigenous people of color, right?
Yeah,
that's a demographic.
Yeah.
2 people.
Oh, I get that. Just basically, it's everyone that's not white. It's what BIPOC is,
right?
Yeah, basically.
Although indigenous, because aren't white people indigenous to the UK.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, like,
I guess it does include
White
white
people-
It's so like
Yeah,
no
right.
one
All white people
knows
are
like
aliens.
at what point a
They're
group
like-
of people become indigenous to an area. It's weird.
So I guess it means everybody. Just
Well,
another
yeah,
way of
because
saying
every
human.
Indigenous
ethnic
in
group is
spirit.
indigenous to somewhere.
Wait, did we even say the number 4?
No, we haven't yet.
Nope.
We've been
Jessie
getting hung
Gender
up on
is
a lot of
about to
stuff.
go over it.
But number 4, yeah, please don't bring your kinks, fetishes to Pride. There are minors at Pride, and this can sexualize the event. So I agree with 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah.
Jessie Gender agrees with 1, 2, and 3.
No, we don't agree with 2 because it acknowledges the existence of a lesbian.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
That's right.
right.
That's right. I forgot.
And ugly people.
Which, by the way,
No,
Rusty
no.
now is messaging you and wants to have a word
exclusion.
with you.
I don't agree with that.
There are minors at Pride, and this can sexualize the event. This tweet, which has since been deleted, sparked off a huge debate around kink being at Pride, with articles written in places like the Mary Sue, Them, and My Mother's Basement. Wait, what was that last one? Anyways, there's even videos being posted here on YouTube about it, and we all know once
Oh, what's that Demon Mama Vosh debate about kink at Pride?
Ooh.
Oh,
I think
no.
I think I've
I wonder
watched
what
some
he
of it.
thinks.
Oh my god! Oh
I
no!
believe
Oh
actually
Jesus!
Vosh came
Oh.
out as saying like, "Look, you got to calm down. You got to calm down just a little bit." And Dean
Wait,
Oh my
was
God.
like, "Nah."
Do I agree with Vosh?
wait.
Terrible.
Hold up. Well, are
That
you
is-
saying that Voosh had a take that wasn't completely dog shit?
Yes.
Sometimes.
I mean, a
Oh
broken
my
clock is right twice a day, you know?
I think may have unraveled the apocalypse. I think this is the last trumpet. This is the final seal being opened.
He
By the
has-
way, this is from like last year, right?
yeah.
You mean the 7th seal, by the way.
Yeah, seventh seal.
I think Bosch sometimes does clash with the trans community on random things, and this is one
Yeah.
of those issues.
And
I mean,
the
there's
women
that famous
community.
clip of him ranting about how trans people are a bunch of degenerates and mentally ill people.
Oh,
Have you
Ooh.
seen that one? It's super
No.
funny.
Wait,
Oh, it's super
Ooh.
funny.
but even
Vosh
I'm not
said
that
that?
spicy. Jesus.
Yes. He's like, these
Alright.
people are a bunch of mentally ill
Oh, I know which one
degenerates.
you're talking about. I think I have it saved.
Oh.
think I have
It's
it.
really good.
These people are subhuman, and I want them to kill themselves. I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying that the world would be a better place if they did. And I'm going to be honest with you. The left community online, particularly the LGBT community, is cancerous as fuck. People are hyper fragile. There's a ton of mental illness.
He
And
gets
it's-
really
it's-
mad at his
it's
chat
really
and
to
just
me.
starts saying like insane things about
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
that's always
like-
the best.
He's like the left community online, particularly the LGBT community. He's like, he talks about how there's like a connection between the trans community online and shared mental illness, and it's like,
Jesus Christ. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, look at all these kink at Pride debates.
something hits YouTube, officially won the Discourse of the Day award. Congratulations, you're right up there with such people as Gina Carano and that lady from Resident Evil Village that everyone wants to spank. How dare you try to face me! But to be honest, this debate around kink at Pride really isn't new. I found articles
enough
about it back in
physics.
2020, and I also found articles about kink at Pride going back to 2019, 2018, 2017, and on and on and on. Honestly, this discourse is more regular than the amount of times that I call my mom, which, now that I think about it, I should probably do more often. But since this discussion is about as evergreen as my sexiness, I figured it's time for me to take a break from watching the kinkiest Star Trek show. It's Deep Space Nine. Come on, how is it not Deep Space Nine? I mean, Quark's ears alone. And I think
Comedy.
No, it's voice.
I'm asking politely to refrain. I'm pretty sure commenting in a sexual fashion on a Ferengi's ears goes against the rules of acquisition.
Shut up,
Rule-
nerd.
Why are you so mean to me?
That is where their sex happens, right?
Oh.
Well, the
The ear
Vulcans,
rubbings.
Vulcan mating rituals with like their fingers. They do like in Search for Spock. They do the weird like Spock and then not Kirstie Alley, but Kirstie Alley's character from the previous movie. They do the weird finger sex thing.
Well,
Shut up,
sometimes
nerd.
humans
Insert a
also-
Is
meme
that
of
what-
Bamel shoving Tenny into a locker.
You know what's funny? We talked about queer temporality last time,
Yes.
like PC and
Uh-huh.
all that, and queer time. And they say that like trans people like feel like they're going through puberty again. I think it's more like they're going through Ponfar.
I don't know what that is. I disavow.
That's a Star Trek reference.
I just
That's
disavow whatever it was.
That's for nerds. That was a joke for nerds.
I don't get it.
You know what they say about Star Trek fans?
Uh-huh.
What?
Not all Star Trek fans are pedophiles. But
oh no,
any given pedophile is very likely to have Star Trek memorabilia in his room.
I own
Mike's the closest. Someone call Mike.
Oh no!
Don't worry.
No,
Mike,
don't out Red
Mike
Letter
has
Media
given
like
up
that.
on Star Trek now. You've seen his latest
true.
reviews.
Yeah. Okay, so he's not great.
He's past his conversion therapy. Okay.
Probably too busy like drinking himself into depression because of how shit new Star Trek is.
We can discuss these arguments in good faith. But then, if you'll allow me to be a little bit of a tease, ow, that actually hurt. I actually wanted to talk about why, in some ways, this conversation is actually more insidious than just about kink. Because it actually is about all LGBTQ folks.
Because any non-straight sex is kink, as we learned from the last Kink at Pride.
Oh yeah.
I just want to say though, that fucking slap hurt me too, psychologically.
Oh
This
fuck!
video
There was
is
something.
hurting me.
Yeah. Shit, there was a point I wanted to bring up the last pause, but we got sidetracked by Star Trek.
Oh,
Yeah. It was about like the Kink at Pride conversation being like old.
Mhm.
Like, but they only go back to like 2017 with the articles to prove that it's old. It's like, I mean,
It's not really old.
Honey line.
Sure, there was like debates back in the day about like how like risque Pride events should be, but it's never been like it is now, where there's people in like neoprene dog masks and assless chaps and all that kind of stuff. Like you'll look at it like they'll make the point, and I don't think Jessie Gender does in this video. They might, but like they'll like show videos of like guys in like leather jackets and chaps, but they're wearing jeans, and be like, oh, see, Kink at Pride was always there since the beginning, and just like, yeah, that's like just like Tom of Finland style.
It's not on the same level. You know.
Yeah, it's not on the same level as a fucking neoprene dog mask and a harness and like a jock strap where you can see your butt. Like, it's not kind of the same thing.
So the Kink at Pride debate is officially 10 years younger than the term demisexual then.
That ancient term, demisexual.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, that's just, I just wanted to make that kind of point. It's just like, I don't think this conversation's that old. This is, I mean, maybe 10 years, but it's relatively new with how kind of extreme it's gotten. Seriously.
Yep.
Oh boy, a trans person making it all about herself. Ugh, I really am an egomaniac. That one's for you, TERFs. That one's for you.
Oh, TERFs.
TERFs always are correct. What can you say?
All right, the first argument up in the gauntlet is that Pride is a family-friendly event. Here's a video of a YouTuber sitting in front of some pretty colored lights just to say as much.
Here's my perspective, okay? Pride should be an uncontroversial celebration of queer identity and queer history as a way of A, putting on a good face for the normies, B, giving people who are on the cusps of the community an entry into it, like an opportunity to dip their toes in, C, showing people what it's all about, and D, being fun, okay? The reason why I like these elements is because I think that it works to A, normalize like gay people, which is good, that's good, and B, it makes it easier for people who might otherwise not participate in the gay community jump into it. See, that's important, okay? It's important that that happen.
YouTubers and their...
So there you go.
Okay.
Wow, that was 100% correct. That's my exact argument. That's what I was stumbling through at the beginning of this video.
That was
hate makes a really good point.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the person I hate.
my heart is broken because the worst person I can think of just made a valid point.
No. Yeah, I mean, what's to disagree with there?
I can anticipate what they think.
I think there's something I can disagree with.
I can imagine that Jessie
honesty.
Gender is going to say something like, Pride was never like a family-friendly event because we were like marginalized outcasts and we had to like cruise in bathrooms and like seedy dive bars and stuff. So but that's not the point.
I don't trust Vosh more than I can throw him, and that's not very far. So
well,
I think
and
he
with your bad
literally-
knees, you shouldn't be throwing anybody.
Definitely. I don't think this is his opinion, because I don't think he has an opinion on Pride.
Oh,
If that's a bit spicy.
where do you think he got this opinion from?
I think he just read it as like a let me defend myself, because this was during one of his bi-weekly controversies. I think.
Oh, was it?
I think it was something to do with pedophilia. Yet again.
Ooh.
Mm.
Ooh.
Always.
So suddenly he had a anti-kink at Pride take.
Oh, this is from last year. So yeah, maybe he's just adopting an argument that he knows is pretty bulletproof to kind of use as a shield for some controversy going on in him. I wouldn't put that past Vosh.
I mean,
to be
we've
honest.
seen him do that with the whole J.K. Rowling, and then Vosh is suddenly gay now,
Right?
sort of
Yeah.
thing. Where it's like a couple months ago, he got J.K. Rowling like did something on the shit stain of a website called Twitter, and Voosh quote tweeted her with like "women shut up and stop talking" challenge or whatever, which based.
Oh, the whole
but-
world knows it. It got reported on by mainstream media.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she retweets Voosh, and she's like, silence man who's like silence guy who sounds like my abusive ex-husband, and then like
Oh, yeah, she brought out
And
the
then,
big
like,
guns for that one.
he was like a
For being a pedo.
yeah, like
it's
CNN,
just-
like there was an article where it's like J.K. Rowling quote tweeted like user Vosh who argues against the age of consent. It's like,
Oh no.
Oh, they
This
did
is
it
like-
dirty.
oh
Defeated.
jeez.
Defeated.
It's like, I mean, he did do that, but still, it's just kind of funny to see like a mainstream publication, especially one with this as big as CNN, just like Bosch, who argues against the age of consent.
Bosch, suspected pedophile.
It's like,
All right, so even if it wasn't Vosh's words or whatever, we do agree with what Vosh said. I mean, it's pretty bulletproof,
Right.
to be
It's
honest.
yeah. Perfectly understandable. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the way most normal people think about these kinds of things, or people who are interested in kind of helping gay people, I guess.
Now I
don't
can
know what better way to put
anticipate
it.
that Jesse here will dispute whether normalization is a good thing. That's
Oh,
my
we'll
guess.
see.
That's my guess.
oh, I anticipate that's gonna happen.
My guess, all right, my guess is that what they're going to argue is that since the beginning, gay pride has always and will and should be used not as a platform to normalize homosexuality or whatever queerness that they want to push.
They're going to
but
try to
rather-
claim that kink as an identity.
No,
Ye-
they're trying to say that gay pride has always been a protest and was supposed to be for activism
We'll see.
instead of
Let's
trying to
stop
be a
guessing.
show.
Let's stop guessing and see what Jessie Gender has to say.
Well, I've been
about
holding on to that for when we first brought that up, so I just want to make that out.
Fancy lighting setups. Anyways, Pride, some folks argue, should be as accessible as popular. Popular? Pride, some folks argue, should be as accessible as possible. And having people walk around in assless chaps, leather daddy outfits, and, rainbow pasties makes the event less accessible, some people say. Some of the reasons may...
Some people.
Some people say I like the. Some people say it's like
Normal
citation.
people,
You, like you mean most ordinary LGBT people?
Yeah, like the
And,
main
like,
criticism.
Most of us, not some of us. Like most of us.
Are you saying most
Like-
of you aren't weird perverts?
I know, shocking, right?
I
By the people who purport to speak on behalf of the gay community, TM registered trademark. You wouldn't think that most gay people are normal people, but most gay people are just normal people that don't really give a fuck about this shit. Would rather just be left alone. Just saying.
Maybe they have moral issues against it, which we'll be talking about in a little bit later section, or maybe because they have kids at the event who don't want to see such kinky stuff, something we will also be discussing later on in this video. But before we get to that stuff, let's hone in on this idea of accessibility, about who Pride is for. You see, Pride didn't start off as one big rainbow and glitter explosion party concert, but as a protest. While the infamous
I told you!
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was a little called it. Pride
Yep.
started
Good job,
as a
Amazon.
protest, guys.
Yep.
I get the points.
So because it started as a protest, does that mean that it needs to be like a protest environment in perpetuity?
I would say not at all. A
Is
lot
the
of
ro-
things started out as protests, but we don't commemorate them with like throwing rocks at policemen and starting shit. You know,
Right. I mean, the
Like,
American
we don't-
Revolution started as a protest. How do we celebrate the 4th of July?
we don't dress up as engines and toss tea into the water.
Right. But, well, that would be fun, though. No, we have
Yeah,
big
it would.
family-friendly events and 4th of July parades.
That would actually
and
probably
barbecues.
be more family friendly than your average pride parade, if I'm being honest.
That would be fun to watch. I'd watch that. But yeah,
Yes.
I mean, the revolution was a protest. That's how we celebrated big family-friendly barbecues, all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But whatever. Guess it's got to be a protest in perpetuity. Stay angry. Always be angry.
Always be
Nothing's
enraged.
changed. Everything's terrible.
Shout out to that one guy in the striped shirt at the right of the picture here. Like the
Mhm.
haircut, the pants, the shirt, nice. And people used to dress with some degree of like class back in the 60s.
He
Even
looks like a
if you-
teenage Wally Beaver,
Oh my god,
doesn't he?
kind of does, kind of does.
That's an old people reference.
Yeah, I'm worried about what our son's doing at late at night at that club. I'm not worried about
June, have you seen our son?
it.
Stonewall Riot, an event which was sparked by police raiding the LGBTQ Stonewall Inn in the sexiest of years 1969 and whipping and hitting patrons, causing the crowd to fight back, and pelting the homophobic cops and causing aggressive street confrontations to happen over the next few nights, wasn't the first LGBTQ-focused riot. It certainly became one of the most well-known. The following year, in recognition of the anniversary of the Stonewall Riot, organizers built upon that sense of resistance to the policing of LGBTQ identities and organized a march down Christopher Street in New York City with the theme of gay pride.
It wasn't the first gay pride march was in Chicago.
Ah.
Just saying.
Midwest represent.
Yeah.
Man.
Chicago.
Although, you know
Pride
what?
Worldwide.
The thing about the first pride, it was kind of cringy. They kind of walked around shouting gay power to the people, and then did like a ring around the rosy around the Picasso in front of Dealey Plaza.
Oh no.
That's kind of
saying.
cringy. Yeah, maybe it's best we forget that one.
Also, like, what is it? Who is this Fidel Castro cosplayer in this in the center waving the American flag?
Hey,
No,
America's
Look, that is not the American flag because half that thing is stars. That's not how the American flag looks.
America's
That's
not
true.
that bad. They named a street after me. It's full of what?
It's full of what? So that's what happened to all the men I put in labor camps.
As a counterpoint to the prevailing sense of you should be ashamed of being gay that had abounded in mainstream culture up to
By the way, look at all this kink in this picture.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah, look
very
at all
cool.
that. Look at that.
Oh, look at that
There's like a
fucking
bare chest.
Christmas sweater.
Yeah, that must open the
scandalous.
door to butt plugs and dog masks.
Look at all these people wearing normal clothes with looking relatively groomed, like not showing off their erogenous areas.
Well,
And
except for the
it
guy with the open shirt, but it is
I mean-
June in New York. I mean,
And it
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like they're actually on the sidewalk and not blocking the fucking street.
Yeah, and the best part, like none of them look fat.
this isn't a dig at gay people. This is just a dig at like the 70s and people in the 70s. But can you imagine how bad that fucking smelled?
Oh,
that-
oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Because that's like
it's
before deodorant. Deodorant didn't get popular until like the 80s.
It's the age of hippies, dude. Look at those long hair.
Oh, it's New York in June in the summer.
Mhm.
Everybody's got swass. Oh, that probably smells like ass.
Swouse.
Like,
and still
Wait,
to this day.
deodorant
What's up?
became popular till the 80s.
Yeah. That's
People
when people
not-
started. That's when people started wearing deodorant. Hey, man,
Not talking perfume, okay, don't you dare.
more than half of America didn't have indoor plumbing until like the mid 50s.
That's true.
Terrible.
Well, what are you gonna do?
And soon, like finding glitter on your body, these pride parades soon spread to cities all over the world. Pride didn't start as a family-friendly celebration event. It was meant as a very clear political pushback against a society that shames the very notion of being LGBTQ.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be great if it was a family-friendly event? Because it would kind of show that we won.
Yeah,
You idiot.
it shows that we've moved past the
Rebellious
obvious oppression. We
stage
don't.
of, you know,
We no longer have sodomy laws. We no longer have laws that ban homosexuals from marrying or even adopting in a lot of parts of the world or parts of the United States anyway.
Right.
So
I mean, we got marriage. Well, employment discrimination might still be there. I don't know. Did they ever pass that law? I'm not paying attention.
I think it might be. I think it's a state by state thing.
I always get yelled at by my husband about not listening or something. I don't know. I don't pay attention.
Oh yeah.
Fair enough. You know, he talks a lot. Just goes on and on and on.
But yeah, I mean, point taken, Tenny. It's like the fight's kind of over. Like we can kind of start winding down here, guys. Not everything needs to be a fight.
Yeah, and it makes sense to say, you know, to the previous example, the Revolutionary War was a war. That was not a family-friendly event. You know, people are getting killed. This is not where you take your kids to. But in later years, you commemorate it with something that you can share with your child to espouse the values and the ideas that event represented for you. That should really be the goal, not just repeating the same event in its original form forever. Doesn't make sense.
Right, that kind of shows there wasn't any kind of forward movement or progress when there was a ton. But Cobb, actually, at the first Battle of Bull Run, a bunch of families set up picnics and watched the battle.
Oh.
until like some cannonballs started like going their way.
Different times, you know.
Yeah.
So apparently before deodorant
to watch people get hanged too, I'm sure.
Right.
Not only with its messaging, but with very direct and violent actions and policing. It was meant as a screw you to the establishment. And yes, there were celebration elements of it, celebration of identity, celebration in the form of pride, because pride is a protest. Pride is a way to say, we're here and we aren't going anywhere and we are visible. We are told in so many different ways to not be visible, to go away, to hide, to be in the closet, to not be ourselves in public in any way, shape, or form. To be prideful and out is an active act of resistance against that. But as LGBTQ rights have been fought for more and more over the past few years, pride itself has become more and more a commercialized and normalized part of our yearly celebrations.
Yeah, that's kind of what we wanted, question mark? I mean, is that not what you want, Jessie Gender?
That's
kind
of
you don't want to be normalized into
too
society.
Normal.
Also, I'd like to I'd like the audience to remember the first rule in that first reminder in that tweet that they brought up before. Do you remember what it was?
Money.
Right,
Yes.
It's all about money. Hey, you know what? Hey, money's money. Go ahead, get some money.
The fact that
And
it can make money,
whatever.
it says something, right?
That's
Yeah,
true.
that is true.
But by the way, this normalization thing where they're like fighting normalization against pride, is this not the same like kind of ideological circles where they're constantly talking about how trans people not being accepted into society is causing like mass suicide for them?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you guys want here? Because it's kind of muddled. Do you want to be normal or do you not want to be seen as normal? Like, come on now.
Yeah, and then what is it to say? And how confusing is it for people who are trans or thinking of or are wanting to become trans, and they see the
Like they're applying for it.
No, they see this representation of all the sexuality and kink and stuff, and they're like, "This is kind of weird to me. I don't know if I want that." Well, that's what I was saying at the beginning of the video. It's like, I mean, I would think that there's going to be a certain, probably large percentage of youth that would go to this and be like, so this is the community that everybody's telling me I need to be a part of. I'm just like, oh, like I don't like this. Maybe I just don't want to. I don't want to be gay. I hope I'm not gay. Like, or I hope I'm not trans. I hope I'm not. Yeah, they deny reality because they don't think that they'll fit in that way either.
Right.
So then they become even more isolated and disenfranchised.
Are these just people making these arguments? Just need to get out of sex dens, I guess.
Get out of the sex dungeon.
Or Kink at Pride is a CIA psyop.
It could be. There's a lot of alphabet involved here. LGBTQIA plus.
Don't forget 2A.
All right, yeah, I gotta throw the 2A in there.
Yep.
Could be a psyop.
This parade glows.
Numerous corporations have sponsored Pride events. There's even Pride-themed merch. Hell, there's even LGBTQ-themed Oreos, which honestly are kind of delicious. Even Google helped fund San Francisco Pride.
Oreos.
Yeah, I mean,
Oreos.
like the flavor changes. Although you might get monkeypox.
Oh,
You know, Oreos are technically vegan.
Perhaps.
The AIDS goes into the frosting, right?
Oh no!
What do you think that frosting is made of? Come on.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
you gotta
sure.
test the
No, I'm pretty
viral
sure
load
that
of
they
those Oreos.
jizz in between the cookies, and that's what makes it cool.
Yeah, Cobb, the viral load of those Oreos is too low to be detected. It's safe, okay?
Oh no!
Eat Oreos. It's positively great.
Oh no! AIDS jokes. Waka waka.
Waka waka.
Despite the fact that the company continually refused to properly address homophobic and transphobic harassment
Picard.
on this very platform, YouTube. Not my vagina. Just YouTube.
YouTube's failed to address harassment of LGBT folks.
They won't ban everybody they don't like.
I guess.
Wait, they have
Listen,
a vagina?
Until there is no criticism.
I think they got surgery at some point.
Oh.
But they were trying to, and I saw a video where they said, "Oh no, my surgery got canceled," and it's like stuff. So maybe, but yeah, whatever it is, it's a neo vagina.
I didn't want to think about it, but they brought it up, and now I have.
Well, let's not perseverate on it.
I know I'm pointing at my vagina, but I'm talking about YouTube. Is YouTube in my vagina? Anyways, Pride in many ways has become in some ways a part of the establishment that it fought against. But to be fair, the reason these groups
Wait, what? Wait, when was gay rights fighting against like corporations? Like what?
Oh yes, the anti-establishment gay group known as the Village People.
I mean, I guess there was like perceptions like within corporations, like usually media corporations, of like making gays the butt of jokes, and maybe you want to target that, or like corporate hiring practices. But like, when was like gay rights like involved in like we need to change banking laws? What?
Where were the gays in Wall Street? All right, did Tim Pool see any of them?
Gay power to the people, and the corporate tax is too low.
feel more comfortable answering Pride is because, in many ways, some LGBTQ identities have become normalized in society, have been less shamed, I at least should say.
Well, so the some that have been normal.
Animal.
Yeah, like mine. But like, okay, so some, and then the people that didn't like that they were normal and wanted to be special created a bunch of weird bullshit ones, like demisexual.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah, I guess so.
You don't want to ever be happy, so you just keep moving the goalpost.
The spice of life, I guess. I don't know.
And more people are starting to explore what it might mean to be part of the LGBTQ community. Why did I stumble there? I mean, more and more people are identifying with the LGBTQ spectrum.
Why did you indeed?
Yeah, you stumbled because it's a fucking mouthful that's inarticulate and unnatural.
No, I mean
a record 5.6% of U.S. adults identify as LGBTQ. Poll shows. I remember there's that recent Gallup poll. You guys all saw that, right? That Bill Maher talked about even.
I can't.
Well, for like no, it was like 10% of the U.S. population, but like the amount of like gays from like the boomers to Gen Z didn't change that much. Like gay men, like it went from like 1.4 to 2.1%, and like lesbians went from like 0.04 to 0.08 for millennials, and then the Gen Z it just jumps to like 1.6%.
Mm-hmm.
And then transgender went from like 0.02 to like 0.04, and then it jumped to like 1.8. So I wonder where all that influx of lesbians came from.
I also think I saw a chart that tracked changes in actual sexual behavior.
Right.
And showed very little change.
Yeah. And then
so the people are identifying as it, but not actually doing it.
But you know what, Gabbles? You Gabbles and Amazon. You guys would be very proud that the buys take the cake on how much they've expanded.
Yeah.
11%.
Centrism.
11% for Gen Z. It went from like 5% for millennials to 11% for Gen Z.
So if you need a source on that, you should just Google bisexual inflation.
But I think don't celebrate too hard, guys, because I have a theory.
Oh no! Is it a gay theory?
It's a gay theory. I think that not the majority, but at least a good chunk of that bisexual explosion is all these kind of bullshit identities like demigender and all that.
Yeah, I can feel that.
I think that's a lot of them, like pansexual.
Yeah.
Well, it could also be people coming to terms with their own sexuality, and it's like, I don't know, maybe I like the same sex, and then just like shedding it afterwards.
There's no white pills
like
here.
the NB dick. Maybe not.
Yeah, all white
I mean,
pills.
Gen Z is relatively young, and there's not really been like a poll on like young, kind of what teenagers view sexuality. So like maybe maybe that's just a sign that things are a little different now, and people are like, oh yeah, I was bisexual in my teens, but then it turns out I wasn't.
If you don't remember 9/11, you don't have a fixed sexuality.
That's right.
Okay.
Today than ever before. Just look at the statistics. So doesn't it make sense to have an event where people can just come and figure out what it's like? Again, that sort of sampler idea to be like, oh yeah, this is fun. We can just enjoy ourselves. This is sort of like being like baby's first gay event. And to a degree, I get this.
No, you don't.
Apparently not.
If you got it, you wouldn't have made this video, you idiot.
I too like being like, hey, it's Pride Month. Let's just go and have fun with my friends. Hell, I even bring a lot of my straight friends because it's fun to just hang out with them in a space that is, kind of catering to the LGBTQ community. A normal part of our culture, that it's something that we can do out in the open.
I'm just going to tell you guys a secret. I don't think that straight friends really enjoy Pride all that much.
You don't
Just from experience of bringing straight friends to Pride, they don't really like it all that much.
This
They're just
person's friends probably do.
We're here to support
maybe.
you.
Yeah, they're like, we're here to support you, but also we have Cubs tickets, so we're gonna go ahead and Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
We'll just be over here watching the game on our phones.
Yep.
We'll let you know the score. Don't worry.
And just have fun. It's something that everyone can enjoy. And this whole feeling gets into this debate. Is Pride a protest, or is Pride meant to be a normalized event to just say, hey, LGBTQ is fun? But, by normalizing Pride, we take it away from those who need it most. I mean, for example, I've seen people saying that Pride is a...
Take it. Who do you think's going to need it most?
Don't say women of color. Don't say people of color.
It's gonna be women of color, isn't it? The most kinky demographic.
It's gonna be women of color, which
trans women of color.
Women of color is like women of color is just black women. This is just a way of saying black women. I've never whenever I see like people of color, I see it almost exclusively in the context of African American women, specifically because you've got
fair. They usually pull the Latinx.
Yeah, Latinx.
Very popular term.
I never hear it with like
Chinex.
Asian women. I never hear it with Pacific Islander women or Native American women or like Samoans or like I don't know other kinds of non-white peoples. It's basically just calling them coloreds, but it's the way you change the word.
But in a nice way.
Yeah.
Nice way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's thrilled with it.
I've had students in class say colored people.
Yeah,
because they don't
happen.
They just assume that it's another way to say it, and I don't say anything. I'm like, it doesn't matter. But they're so young, they don't remember that that's now offensive, I guess.
Grammatically, it makes sense. Socially, on the other hand.
Yeah. Woo.
Queer inclusive event. It's not a queer inclusive event. It's a queer event.
Wait a minute. The most important people were queers?
Queers.
Hey, yeah, let's get a running start into this.
Oh no.
We were way off.
Queers are different? I don't understand.
We take it away from those who need it most. I mean, for example, I've seen people saying that Pride is a queer inclusive event. It's not a queer inclusive event. It's a queer event. It's inherently gay. It's not inclusive of gay, it is gay. But by saying that, we're normalizing that Pride isn't for gay people, it's for everyone. It includes us, but it's not for us. But that's not the point. It's for LGBTQ people.
That was almost based, and then I don't know.
What was even based about it? What the fuck are you smoking?
No, her saying, because you could easily interpret her saying that saying that it's queer, gay inclusive is very is dismissive because it is for gays, it is about gays. But now you're making it about everyone else, including trans everyone else. That's where I thought I thought that would be that was going to be a base take. I don't know
about gays and not trans people.
No, it was the most oppressed group in society, the queers. You gotta make pride about the queers.
Like I'm sure we're all old enough to remember when
queer
queer,
was an insult?
actually was like a negative term that you would get called, like in school or whatever. Because I got
Well,
called
I've
a queer in
never
school.
heard it, but yeah, I knew that
Like-
was the thing.
We got to make way for all the hetero cis demisexuals.
Yeah.
They're the most
Oh, yeah.
oppressed group in society.
Oh yeah.
True. I'm oppressed every day.
What the fuck is this? Queers are the most oppressed group. Get the fuck out of here.
I want Pride to be something that everyone can enjoy in some way. I'm not saying that you can't bring your straight friends or that others can't enjoy it, but it shouldn't be meant to be an LGBTQ taste tester either. Pride should be subversive. It shouldn't be normalized. The whole reason we are prideful is
Whoa,
Okay, so I called this part.
Yeah,
Shouldn't be normal.
I had a suspicion
Should
that
be
she was going to say
subversive.
it shouldn't be normalized because
being queer is weird and we should keep it weird.
Yeah, you don't want queer to be normal because then you're not queer anymore. And then
it's not even like
Then
it's not even like
the aesthetic, Dan.
Yeah,
it's not even like the cool kind of weird where it's like unique or interesting or like a subculture within a subculture within a culture. It's like California weird. It's SoCal weird or Portlandia weird, where it's like weird TM, copyright weird. It's bland weird.
Yeah, super bland weird. You're right.
What you're saying is it's not
corporate-friendly
weird, it's quirky.
Yeah, quirky.
That's
quirky
another way of
girl.
saying it.
Yeah.
Quirky
Like-
internet girl culture.
It's very boilerplate. It's very predictable. Like, you know the kind of weird stuff you're gonna see.
Yeah,
You're not surprised by anything. You're just vaguely disgusted, maybe.
Which makes it paradoxically
And
not
annoyed.
weird because you already know what the content of what you're gonna engage with. So it's not weird. It's not unusual or unique at all. It's not interesting. It's just people in colorful costumes and wearing rainbow flags and assless chaps. Like, that's boring because you already know that's just like that's Portlandia weird. I'm sure there's a good argument that not all gay people and gay communities are the same, and so they probably each have their own little interesting groups within themselves that make the LGBT community in one particular area or the scene in that area interesting and unique in a way that makes it distinct, but also assimilated at the same time. And this is the opposite of that. It's plastic. It's fake. It's entirely constructed. It's entirely prefab. It's like prefab housing.
I mean, they're all social constructionists. Of course.
Yeah,
it's
it's all working off of the same West Coast template, and that sucks.
You know,
Like,
and
it sucks
in a
hard.
sense, they're trying to capture. I think that all goes back to this idea that it's a protest. We're protesting the man, and they're trying to capture that energy forever.
Yeah,
which just makes it derivative.
God, Tenny, you're right. They think they're so cool, but they're so not.
Like it's quirky pride revolution brought to you by Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, and J.P. Morgan.
Yeah.
Like it's absurdly hypocritical. Also,
Wait, what are
I
you
don't want
talking
this-
about? Because I was talking about queers. You're talking about pride.
Also, I don't want this like Californian garbage in my Midwest gay community.
Right.
Like we need like group pride. We need to take over Oktoberfest.
German is famously gay.
We need more rainbow lederhosen.
Let's all go to Oktoberfest together.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Make
Yes,
a promise.
unironically.
Drink
It's
beer,
kind of like
stuff our mouths with sausage. It'll be great.
It's kind of like the King Malcolm X dichotomy, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, it sure is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although Malcolm X kind of cooled out, but then you know.
Well, yeah. But
Then Farrakhan snuffed him out.
Yeah.
So, you know.
is because we are told to be ashamed. Pride is a way of pushing back. The whole reason pride is important is because, for many of us, pride isn't what we're allowed to feel about ourselves as LGBTQ people. And publicly showing kink at Pride, something that's still considered subversive, goes to the very nature and core of Pride. Kink to this day is...
So that's just the whole reason you want kink at Pride to be subversive?
Boring.
Yeah, how fucking boring. Oh, and this is, I don't know if you're going to keep it in, Kov, but before we were talking about Star Trek, Jessie Gender loves new Trek. And if there's one thing new Trek is, it's subversive. Trademark, registered trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just.
From Kurtzman? Really?
Yeah, so I don't like calling people dumb, but honestly, I mean, if you like new Star Trek and like new Star Wars and stuff, Which, by the way, if we ever get around to that asexual, that guy's first video is like why Last Jedi wasn't bad.
Oh no!
Why, okay, why is it like? Why are they like this?
I don't know.
Why do
why
they
do they like this garbage?
All this
Why do they
terrible
like all
media?
this pop culture garbage? Because it's empty. It's shallow. Like they are shallow, and they gravitate towards shallow things like flies gravitate towards dung. It's empty. It's a bunch of flash. It's like dangling keys in front of a little baby child's face.
I don't even know if
entertained, and then
is it just that they're feeling like they're giving the thumb to society by liking this stuff? Like, is there like that kind of element to it? Is that why they like?
Or maybe they process enjoying media as how many checkboxes does this do for
exactly?
me?
And do I see myself like?
There are
do I see an exact
here.
copy of me? Like, do I see enough black people in this movie, or enough gay people, or enough lesbians,
do I
or
approve
enough?
of the social message? Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Yes.
It's
I
like,
will now enjoy this.
Are they
like when
really
people talk about? It's like when people talk about representation. They're like, "Well, I needed to see somebody who looks and sounds like me on the screen," which is kind of a narcissistic way of looking at media.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that. I think a lot of black people would like black media to kind of like, somebody that kind of speaks their language, that's somebody they can identify with. I mean, that's why people liked Die Hard, like middle class normal guys like Die Hard, because John McClane spoke like them. I think people like avatars of their culture. Doesn't necessarily need to be specifically their story, but like avatars that they can lock onto. So,
Yeah, but
I don't think there's anything
they're
wrong with
avatars, though. They're not exact copies.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with representation, is like they don't want somebody whom they can relate to, but who is also distinctly different. They want someone who is an exact copy of them, specifically in appearance, in voice, in temperament.
I think it's actually even weaker than that. I think they want someone who just aesthetically appears,
looks like them,
right?
But
yeah,
they don't
that's
go any deeper. They don't care if the person's a real character or not, and that's really the problem with like these Disney spin-offs where they have, here's a black lady, and what's her character? She's black, I guess.
Right,
that's it. That's the character.
That's the two differences, because like there's like a
Lando.
black movie.
That's a character.
Lando Calrissian is actually a character. He's got his own, and you can tell he's an actual character because in the way he relates to all the other characters who relate to each other in ways that show that they are actually important characters. They're not just random people, and they're not just stand-ins for the audience or for the writers.
I mean, but there's like black media, black movies, like New Jack City, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, Barbershop. Like these are like kind of stories that like a community that kind of shares these things can kind of go around and be like, oh yeah, like they're making commentaries in the community, things that they can identify with, and people on the outside can also, that aren't part of these communities, can also enjoy those movies because they're also good stories. And then there's the other kind of diversity that you guys were talking about, where it's like Finn in Star Wars, and it's like, hey, we have a black guy in Star Wars. I think BIPOCs are gonna love it just because of that, but it's like, that's like not like,
and then you don't do anything with the character.
Yeah, and then you don't do anything with the character, and he's just kind of there as window dressing. Yeah, but like, that's kind of the two differences, because like that's like I always hear like we need to hear black stories and black storytellers, and then you do hire them, and then you have them make these shit movies like fucking Star Trek and Star Wars. Although those are both, those aren't black guys directing those, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like those aren't black stories. I'm sorry.
It's Megacorp story.
I want to see a new Friday. I don't want to see a new Star Trek with a black captain.
To be fair, though, the other part of that is that you get more Spike Lee movies.
Hey, Spike Lee used to make good movies, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he used to.
Is Quentin Tarantino the best black movie director?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, honestly.
Possibly.
I mean,
he's got the best ratio of good, Yeah. I still just want to have it on the recording of the joke that in Dave Chappelle's race draft, Quentin Tarantino should have been picked from the African Americans.
Isn't accepted by society by its very nature. It's about making those who see us uncomfortable, to say you cannot look away from us, that we are here and we are happy to be ourselves, and you can't deny that. And you have to reconcile with your uncomfortability with that.
Yeah, Mom and Dad, take that.
Or I could just leave. I could just leave and not reconcile.
So
with
much
it at
of
all.
this,
Or so much of this channel.
So much of this like attitude is just like these kinds of people never grew out of being a teenager and like getting angry at mom and dad for like not letting them do something or whatever. It's like, ha, take that, mom and dad. You can't tell me what to do now.
I'm not a...
It's like it's so childish. It's so insufferably childish, and it just shows a lack of maturity in a lot of ways.
If I can quote Danimal from the previous episode that I was on, I'm not a part of your system. Throw those lesbians on the
ground.
Throw those lesbians on the ground.
That was my favorite fucking part of that episode.
Good, I'm glad. A reference that I didn't even originally create. That's good.
To say, I don't care if you're uncomfortable. I'm here, so your uncomfortability is your problem. And kink is still one of the most visible ways to make people uncomfortable. In fact, the kink...
Yeah, that's what we want people to think when they see gay people or trans people or lesbians. We want them to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
That's what we're going for here, boys.
That's what we're going for.
That's
By the way, this is
definitely not what they were feeling before, right?
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, this is what I was talking about, which is where like this is like one of the pictures you see all the time where they're like, "Oh, kink has always historically been at Pride." Do you see any differences between this and say like what's going on now?
You mean the people on leashes and the
yeah.
These guys just wearing what looks like ordinary clothing with just leather added to them. Like
right.
it's not
Except
like
for the guy in the harness. I mean, that's a little.
That's but he's the driver, so they can't really kick. Oh wait, no, he's on the side to the driver.
No, I think Jim Jones is the driver. Who the fuck is that?
Yeah, my god! Shout out to that
Jim
guy's
Jones
ass on the right side.
Oh wait, no, Jim Jones didn't have a beard. But yeah, and then there's like the the leather booty shorts there. Which come on now, I mean. Socks pulled up or the cap, striped socks, booty shorts.
I mean,
who here doesn't like that?
70s.
But come on now.
When is it?
Yeah, but I just wanted to point this out because this is a picture I see all the time.
Kink community has often been at the forefront of many of the protests, going back all the way to the Christopher Street one. It's part of our history, and to exclude people who practice...
Well, no, it's not. It's part of the Kinksters' history.
Yeah, it's
like
part
there's
of
plenty of gay and straight people or whatever who don't like to see this. So you have people in the parade and you have people on the outside of the parade not liking it. So why are you there? That's what I don't get.
Right.
Like, it's all about kink, and you need to protect the Kinksters the most.
Oh, well, the queers are the most oppressed, Gables.
Oh yeah, of course. Don't you know?
I'm having an aneurysm.
It's the whole reason I wanted to bring this tweet is because is this the logic that we're working with? So Jesus approves of kink at Pride, which we all know Jesus would have, I guess. Queerness is inherently kink. Kink isn't inherently sex, I guess. It's not an official part of Pride. It's part of being queer, even if no sex is involved. What the fuck is even kink nowadays?
It's
just what makes you horny.
But it's not sex.
How can you have kink without sex?
Yeah, exactly. How do
What
you?
does that even mean?
If there's no erotic gratification involved, then is it a kink or is it just?
It feels like how there's some people that have never played a sport in their life, but they'll wear like Letterman jackets.
Oh yeah,
because they like the style.
Those guys.
Is this just people that want to appear they're in a club, but don't want to actually be in the club because they don't have the wherewithal?
It's an aesthetic.
I want something that says
aesthetic.
"Daddy likes leather."
Right.
Oh yes.
Leather
Are you
daddy?
saying?
Oh, is there such a thing?
Are you saying that this person just bought that leather outfit for the aesthetic?
Possibly.
I mean, that's very much a Tobias Hume case sort of thing.
It's almost like the most oppressed group, queers, isn't actually like anything, and maybe just an aesthetic.
Yes.
That could be it.
Maybe
that might
all
be
the
what.
Sexual stuff is just performative.
Possibly.
Like, they aren't actually getting any sexual gratification out of this.
Yeah, they just think it's something they should do because they need to be subversive for some reason.
Because the nice man over Discord told them to.
Yes, my kitten. Yes.
I don't take it. No.
All right, let's go.
You should have been on a Discord
Drop your
recently.
sissy hypno and watch the video.
No, Daddy Danimal, no.
Yes, my kitten. I haven't heard from you in days. What was going on?
Oh my god, you make him a mod once, and now
I'm gunning for it.
Just kink because they aren't seen as politically expedient to normalization goes against the very nature of pride and LGBTQ inclusiveness.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
normalization is what you wanted. Normalization is what all of us wanted, so that we could repeal things like sodomy laws, like laws against gay marriage, laws against gays being able to adopt, laws against employment discrimination. The whole thing. If you wanted to get those, if you don't want to be thrown in a mental institution or in prison, you should probably try to normalize. If you don't want to be treated unjustly, you should attempt to normalize the thing that you are. Who you are, so that you don't get persecuted, so that there's no social or cultural impetus to persecute you. You know,
yeah. I mean, so in
to stop throwing kids out of their homes when they find out that they're like homosexual, and then they wander the fucking streets until some white supremacist fucks jump out of a van and kick them to death in the street. That's what we're trying to avoid here.
Yeah, exactly. So in 1986 was Bowers v. Hardwick, which is the Supreme Court case that upheld sodomy laws, because it did make it to the Supreme Court, but it upheld. And basically the justice's reason was like, well, homosexuality isn't normal, so people should be allowed to make laws against it if they want. That was basically the argument that upheld sodomy laws, you fucking moron. Yeah, normalization, that's a good thing.
Yeah. And it's also part of the reason why AIDS was so terrible. It's because people like you went out of your way to appear as not normal and non-normative as possible. And look what happened. AIDS and HIV show up, and nobody wants to help us because they think that all gay people are just perverts.
Because they're so different. It's because they're different that they are more affected.
It took several years at least, like late 70s, early 80s into the 90s before AIDS really became a thing that attracted the wider public consciousness. You know, because at first people thought it was just a gay thing and maybe a thing that drug users got. But, you know, it took a very long time, partially, and it cost, several 100,000 lives because of people like this person.
Well, there was that one kid that got it with the blood transfusion in Rock Hudson in the early 80s, but then it kind of died down again.
Ryan White, but
but then it kind of died down again because of that.
But yeah, and even Ryan White, I think that wasn't until the early 90s, wasn't it?
No, Ryan White was in the early 80s.
Okay, but my point is, it took a longer time than perhaps it could have for not only for LGBT people to be accepted, but also for them to get medical assistance when certain diseases were ravaging those communities, and people were just dying horribly, slowly over periods of weeks and months and years. And because of people like this person who think that we have to be constantly subversive and non-normative in order to, I don't know, maintain some facade of revolution.
Yeah, because Pride was a riot.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. People like you are responsible in part and maybe even in whole for the slow, agonizing deaths and persecution of hundreds of thousands of gay people around the world, and especially in the United States.
Yeah, you know what's on posters?
You stupid bitch.
You know what's on posters that they hold up in Russia and Georgia as they're beating gays to death? Fucking pictures of Kink at Pride. Fucking idiots.
It's really good ammo.
Yeah, it's great ammo.
It's
they can say trying to do to our children.
Exactly, and it gives other governments outside of the West lots of ammunition, lots of fuel to add to the fire of genuine discrimination. There was a law that was passed almost 10 years ago about it was supposedly like an anti-gay propaganda bill or whatever. It was passed by the Russian parliament. And in China, more recently, a Chinese court ruled that you could classify homosexuality as a mental illness again. And where do you think these autocratic governments get at least some of their inspiration? They see stuff that's going on in Western countries, and they use that as if not as a genuine justification, at least as propaganda for their regimes.
Yeah,
and it's despicable.
I know these people don't believe in American exceptionalism, but we're kind of exceptional in that we allow this kind of stuff to happen openly.
Yeah.
And part of that is being good stewards of the freedom that we're giving.
Exactly.
And being a good steward freedom that we're giving is setting an example for the world as well.
Yes. And part of having rights is having duties and responsibilities and obligations that you have to fulfill to properly exercise and maintain those rights and the freedom that comes with them. You can't just have a right, you can't just claim a right to something and indulge in whatever disgusting hedonism you want. You have to act conscientiously, at least as a public citizen, at least with a sense of moral restraint and civic duty.
The problem with these people is that they hold the mentality of the perpetual rebel, and that they always want to fight for a cause, and everyone wants to be the rebel. They want to fight against the establishment and be the outlier, be the punk, be the anarchist. But the problem is that even when you win, even when the real change, the only real progress that can be achieved is when you actually play the game, and when you actually try to compromise or be presentable at the very least towards your enemy, because otherwise you will always be an enemy, and thus they have no reason to ever try to understand your arguments or your side, and it just fuels, as we've mentioned, it just fuels more animosity that they could use against you, and that will lead to your downfall. And that's why no one takes the whole queer agenda seriously at all.
Yeah.
I mean, in some sense, you have to become a part of the establishment to succeed. So if you're constantly anti-establishment, you will never find power. You'll never actually gain the authority to make
that's the whole reason
you want.
That's the whole reason you're fighting, is to be a part of the establishment that's excluding you.
Even if you want to be the establishment, like that's how.
Right. The establishment is American society. Do you want to be excluded from society? Is that what you want?
I mean, let's face it, it's kind of what people, like, some of these people want, I think.
It's
so
true,
they can claim some kind of victim status. Like, I think they kind of want a sort of self-imposed alienation or isolation so they can claim victim points after the fact, which is stupid.
Is this what emo became? Did emo just become queer?
This is what theater kids became.
Emo was already queer.
This is why I advocate that we should mercilessly bully and beat your local theater kids. Because if you do not
theater kids alone,
if you don't beat them into submission, they will get worse, and you'll get shit like this. Beat your local theater kids.
Yeah, Amazol, did I touch a nerve with the emo thing? Did I touch a nerve? You want to speak up, emo?
You didn't touch a nerve, but you did touch a great joke. You set me right up, because there is a great poem that I'd like to quote for you. It goes something like, "There's girls like chicks, and chicks like dykes, and emo is one step from being transvestite."
God, I missed the early 2000s.
Oh, man.
All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
And by the way, put a little pin in that idea, because we will be coming back to that.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, that feels good.
Ew.
Stop right now. Stop.
Let's go 5 seconds without pause.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we were off for a while.
Putting things in yourself. You.
I changed my mind on the whole repealing sodomy laws bit. I'm totally in favor of Bowers therapy.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Godspeed. Keep going, Jessie Gender.
This conversion therapy really
get the job
works.
done.
Bring back Bowers v. Hardwick. All I'm saying.
Okay, number 2. Many people say, well, okay, I get some of that, but kink isn't discriminated against in the way that LGBTQ identities are as a whole, nor does it have the history of discrimination as lengthy as queer folks. And as such, it's not really the same as being gay.
Yes, Pride started out as a reaction against heteronormative sexuality and a fight against the oppression LGBTQ people face. It commemorates the Stonewall Uprising when LGBTQ people fought back against the literal policing of our sexualities. But that was down to an identifiable class of individuals discriminated against in law and culture based on shared characteristics, their sexual orientation and gender expression. This distinction matters. Kink and BDSM are not sexual orientations, but rather sexual preferences. An orientation is innate and immutable. A preference can change. No one is oppressed because they're kinky. Certain certainly not in any way that is comparable to the past and even current oppression and marginalization faced by LGBTQ people. LGBTQ people built a community and a political coalition because we were oppressed on the basis of who we love and who we are. This gives us a shared struggle and history, as our fight against laws like Section 28 in the UK or Proposition 8 in California illustrate. We have mutual political interests built out of a common oppression.
What was wrong with that?
There was nothing wrong
Literally
with that. It's just like straight facts. That's the whole thing. Like the whole reason that gay people sort of united under a common banner is because there were laws against them, and they were identified in law, in written down law, and in social custom as a group of people that could be discriminated against, that could be prosecuted for things like gross indecency or other offenses.
Right. I the key word in here is identifiable class. Queer is intentionally unidentifiable by design. I think that's the key here that perhaps gets people like Jessie Gender's hackles in a bunch is the identifiable part because they don't want to be identifiable.
Yeah, that's true. I think
they want to be part of the group. They don't want to be recognized as individuals.
And I agree. The distinction matters between what is a sexual orientation and what is kink and BDSM because they're not. This is absolutely correct. Those are not sexual orientations. Why are they here?
Yeah.
Is it dishonest to say like BDSM and kink? That's more like a hobby, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's kind of like a hobby.
It's not tied directly to being same-sex attracted. So, I mean, I always feel like you could make the same argument for like D&D or heavy metal at Pride. It's like, yeah, you can do that, but it's not about that. That's not what it's for. It used to be gay pride.
Yeah. I want AFOLs at Pride. Do you know what an AFOL is?
No.
And it's an acronym for adult fan of Lego.
Unironically, I would support that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like,
don't ask me why I know that.
Are we talking like Lego sets or like the OG Lego bricks? Like, I cannot find Lego bricks in the store anymore. For like the past couple of years, it's all just been models, all been model kits, and I just can't find like OG Lego bricks anymore.
Legos are expensive.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you could go to. I know that at least there are in Denmark because that's where Lego comes from. They do have like Lego stores, and you can just buy. They have like all the different bricks and stuff by themselves that you can just like fill a bag full of them.
Yeah, you can buy in bulk.
Yeah,
they have that. At least here, they have a lot of like the comic book and like nerd shops where they sell like 40K and stuff like that. They have like a whole wall, which is like these little like boxes that you put it like a shovel in. You just shovel like bricks into a bag. Just buy it by the pound.
This gives us a shared struggle and history, as our fight against laws like Section 28 in the UK or Proposition 8 in California illustrate. We have mutual political interests built out of a common oppression.
To this I say, Kink actually has a long history of discrimination. Kink has been around as long as humans have. As long as we've been able to fuck, we've been trying to fuck in cool ways. Humans are creative like that. I mean, way back in the 4th century, the Kama Sutra was basically a how-to...
It's not a... Okay, this... ruffles my feathers just a tiny bit. Okay,
wait, hang on. Let's see what she says about the Kama Sutra, because maybe she's not going to say it's about kink. Maybe she says it's just about how to.
It's just the way she pronounces a certain word. Okay, okay.
Kama Sutra.
It's not the Karma Sutra. It's the Kama Sutra. Karma is sort of the result of cause and effect of a person's actions and the things and their
Oh boy, we got a trigger Buddhist here.
Kama means pleasure. So it's not Karma Sutra. That would be the Sutra of action. It's the Kama Sutra. And Sutra means something like thread, and it's usually like a collection of teachings, sort of like aphorisms and so on. So this is basically sort of the threads of pleasure in a way. But again, sorry, minor like weird tismy moment.
Yeah, it is weird that she pronounced it that way, given the title is right there.
It even goddamn.
Yep.
All right.
Some people are
angry Buddhist.
to get kinky manual. But as long as there have been joys,
Is that true,
Kinky
Tenny? Is
manual.
the Kama Sutra a kinky manual? Is that true?
Well, it's not a Buddhist text. It's a Hindu
Oh.
one.
Oh, whatever.
I can imagine.
It is
yeah,
basically it's a manual for courtship and lovemaking, which were actually not uncommon in both India and in Arabia, like the Scented Garden, parts of the Arabian Nights, a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
As I understand it, the Kama Sutra is specifically for married couples.
Yes, because that's very important in Hinduism, the union of the male and the female.
So
Gotta make
not
sure
the
for,
yoni and the lingam.
not the male and the male. doing kinky
Although it
stuff.
does have some detail about same-sex habits, but not much compared to, because again, it's for the yoni and the lingam, the female and the male, as a mystical union.
I just wanted to say, obviously, it wasn't made for Buddhists. What the hell would they do with the Kama Sutra?
I guess so, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not really getting them to enlightenment, is it?
Yeah.
Well,
There
Type, maybe.
have also been killjoys. For example, the psychiatrist whose name I'm going to terribly
killjoys.
butcher, Richard von Krafft-Ebing, who published a book in the early 1900s called Psychopathia Sexalis, which doesn't at all sound demonizing, argued that kink behavior is severely depraved. Additionally, the Catholic Church for many centuries tried to put pressure down on anyone doing anything that they saw as morally depraved, which included anything that even resembled kinkiness.
What is this all about, like kink, or is this just about like extramarital sex? And
It seems like she's trying to connect kink to homosexuality because, well, Richard von Krafft-Ebing was in Psychopathia Sexualis was the first person to actually coin the word. Well, one of the first people to coin the word homosexuality, and in German and later in the English translation, and he did describe it as a perversion. But
Kentenberg or Kentberry? I thought that was him.
There are a couple of different originators of the term, but point is, I feel like she's going to make a comparison to persecution of gay people and persecution of kink, I guess. Although that's not really the same thing.
I noticed this historical example. The Catholic Church would persecute people who practice anything close to kink. Okay, what's their specific example? Because that's a very vague statement. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I showed some drawing of a person being hanged, but that could be for anything.
But that's usually okay. Maybe you wouldn't normally be. I think you'd normally be executed for like heresy, maybe
blasphemy.
I mean, not like adultery. Would you be executed for adultery?
Not in
Maybe
the
punished.
era. Not normally.
Is adultery a kink?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that kind of what the Catholic Church is
Adultery
going
would
after?
be punishable, but I don't think it was normally by that time an execution sentence.
I don't think there were any like Spanish Inquisition guys busting in the homes and being like, "You're hanging from wires on rope with a big boner. Get in that fucking terror anguish."
Yeah, I just
they probably love
so much. Let us give you some.
I mean, if anything, the early church would do things like if you didn't have sex with your wife often enough, you could get excommunicated.
Yeah.
She could complain to the priest and say, "Hey, my husband won't have sex
He's
with
not
me.
fulfilling his marital
Not fulfilling his
duties."
marital, you know."
God damn it.
Yeah, women were a lot calmer in those days. I wonder if there's a connection.
It's weird.
Guys,
Really
we
hard to
all
keep a
know.
beard, man.
We all know that in Renaissance Venice, it was very unpopular to wear dog masks.
Yeah. You could get excommunicated for it.
Yeah, it's not like there was a carnival named after it.
We don't know your European ways.
Masquerade. That's what that's.
Oh.
That was a history joke.
You learn something new every day. I only care about the important history, American history.
Carnival. You know?
It means goodbye to meat.
No. Well, that's not very good. All right.
Even to this day, those who take part in the kink community still face discrimination. A UN weapons inspector was pressured to resign after he was outed as a BDSM participant. In the United States, it's perfectly legal by the
To be fair, I mean.
That is kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
So strange.
Maybe they didn't want the UN weapons inspector to be there because he has like a BDSM fetish, because that's good like blackmail material when he's supposed to go to dictators to be inspecting their weapons.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is this where we get like a tally of people who've been put to death from Kink. And
well, she just listed the one name.
One name who got
yeah.
fired.
Yeah.
So
well, she didn't even name him. She just showed his picture and said he's a weapons inspector for the UN and no other detail.
The way for an employer to fire someone for private BDSM-related activities, regardless of their performance on the job or whether they even bring it into the job in the first place.
Yeah, but how often does that happen? Because there
Apparently
are
a lot, I guess. I don't know.
there are clear examples of people being fired for being gay or bisexual, even if they haven't brought it up or anything.
Yeah, that's kind of how Frank Kameny started his career. He was fired as an astrologist.
Like, show me
not astrologist, astronomer.
Show me examples of people being fired because of their fetishes or their kinks.
I mean, maybe a teacher or two.
Well,
although not nowadays.
Yeah, if libs of TikTok had anything to go by, but
well, when you equate kink to queer, then you get to add some more into your part.
Yeah. It's like the episode of South Park where
your numbers.
Do you guys remember the episode of South Park where Mr. Garrison tries to get fired for being gay, and so he brings Mr. Slave to class?
Right.
And he just does all this. Like he just shoves a gerbil of Mr. Slave's ass, and like the kids are like grossed out, and so he tries to get money from the school so he can get fired because he got fired for being gay, so he can get rich. No one. It's like that where it's like it's kind of absurd. Like there's nobody being arrested for kinks.
I mean, I'm sure that there's public figures that have been told to step down because some weird photos came out of them doing kinky shit. But that's I mean, is that bad? I guess. I don't really I don't know if I want to really have my representative be going off doing a bunch of ketamine and having an orgy with horsecock dildos. I think I would probably ask my representative to step down if that came out.
Yeah, that's exactly how you would treat an homosexual, right?
Yeah.
Ask them to politely step down from their position.
Right.
This is going to look bad on our company.
And there's very little to protect you from that. Numerous people who practice BDSM can also recall being fired or being reported to HR if any involvement in their BDSM activities was discovered, even if it's something that they didn't even talk about or bring to work. Also,
if you're getting reported to HR, that means you brought it to work.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's kind of what that kind of means.
Yeah, but they'll also fire people in public-facing jobs for porn. So
okay, I can think of one example of where it could happen and where it could be affected, and Cav would be able to verify on this. But if you're a teacher and you have an OnlyFans, then then they could fire you. But it's not just because kink; it's because you're bringing your private life into the public eye, or even if it's behind a paywall or whatever, people can see that.
Compromise your job.
Yeah.
Oh, Amazon.
For sure.
That reminds me, I'm late on your OnlyFans payment. Please don't cut off my access just yet. Okay, I'll get that to you by the end of the show. Okay.
But yeah, I think you would
cut this.
Maybe not necessarily be immediately fired, but you'd be pushed out. For sure.
Yeah.
And I think kids would find it, and then they'd use it against you, and then you'd probably leave of your own volition, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it's not a fun environment.
I mean, kids are going to be kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, a study found that 40% of those who practice kink activities had either been discriminated against, had experienced some form of harassment or violence, or had some form of harassment or discrimination aimed at their kink-related businesses.
Yeah, let's read this and see if this reflects. So the general public sometimes view such power-oriented activities as a sign of mental illness. What's a power-oriented activity? Are they talking about dominant, submissive here?
BDSM, yeah.
BDSM, okay. A history of sexual abuse, bad parenting, or adherence to cultural crazies. I mean...
Bad parenting.
Bad parenting?
Wow. That's...
What? No.
I mean, there's healthy, exploration of different sex. So, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Different types of sex is what I mean. As a result, some respond with harassment, violence, and discrimination. Kinksters report considerable negative effects from exposure to others who share adverse views that range from shaking heads to physical violence. So, what if you're just like if somebody tells you they have an adult baby diaper fetish and you shake your head at them, that like goes on
That's
this report.
repression, man.
That's discriminatory. It's like,
man.
That's like being homophobic.
And what's like physical violence? Is that
You know who
like,
the
you
real
know,
gays are? The kinksters. The
I mean,
true queers.
yeah, that's right. I mean, who's getting physically assaulted for their kink? Is it going to be the kink that dare not speak its name that begins with a P? Let's be real here. Or the zoophiles. I mean, I could see a zoophile getting beat up. In the right study, nearly 40% of respondents indicated that they had been either discriminated against or had experienced some form of harassment or violence, or had some form of harassment or discrimination aimed at their BDSM leather fetish related business.
That's broad.
Oh,
that's pretty broad. Especially when they just shared that adverse views range from shaking your head in disapproval to physical violence. So what are we talking about here?
It seems to be,
Also, for a business, do they mean like retail?
Yeah,
in which case, does that include just yelling at someone?
Yeah,
that's common.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah.
Like someone shaking the head at you, okay, I can live with that. Someone's killing me, I literally can't live with that. How many times do people get killed over wearing arseless chaps?
It's like those memes where it's like, upvote this if you love McDonald's fries or hardcore anal sex.
It's not. No, this is not honest. This is angling terribly.
This is how much you want to bet the author as a BDSM fetish of this study.
Many stigma of being considered mentally ill or sexually abusive or being victims of sexual abuse themselves or having had bad parents.
I can't imagine why somebody would look at BDSM and think it's sexually abusive.
Yeah.
This person likes to be flogged until their back is bleeding, and they like to have hot wax poured in their ass crack. What? Really makes you think. That's not totally not abusive or able to be manipulated or anything, right?
Look. Some people just like it a little bit rough. All right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with it, right?
Yeah. Is that the case?
Okay, is no one else going to, point out that the people who like being dominated and punished are like, yeah, we should go to Pride and be punished for what we are. Really?
So it's all a BDSM.
Yeah.
Experience.
Oh, yeah. The people who like being submissive and punished, like that humiliation in society.
Yeah. That's why they want Pride to be consistent.
Yeah.
I want to be humiliated at Pride too.
Yeah. It seems like there's kind of ulterior.
Just exhibitionists.
Guys. Kink is the foundation of Pride. Okay.
Exhibitionism is the moral foundation of Pride.
Other members of the LGBTQ community face as well, but we'll come back to that. Again, another pin. But some people argue, well, okay, I get that, but
we have like 4 pins right now. We're gonna get to the video or what? We're halfway through. All right.
Kink is a choice, right? Kink is just something that you're choosing to do. You can just choose not to do it, and maybe it's on you if you get fired or things like that, or if you're discriminated against. That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
I mean, technically, but not really, because kink is literally a choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's
you can choose not to do that shit. You can't choose not to be gay.
I mean, I guess it makes you cum buckets, but you could also just.
Why is she like reiterating blatantly homophobic rhetoric? That's the question.
Right.
Like.
Well, she's trying to say that, it sounds familiar because saying just don't do kink sounds a lot like just don't be gay.
I've never heard anybody unironically just say don't be gay.
Don't act dumb.
Never. I know some people have, but
I say it every day.
I mean, I don't think it's a popular sentiment anymore.
You don't hear me say that all the time?
We hear you say that all the time.
I don't hear the words you say. I just block them out.
Oh.
When we go to bed at night and we're asleep.
Right?
Yeah. When we go to bed at night and we're asleep, Kav sneaks into our home and just puts wireless headsets on our ears that just say, "Don't be gay. Don't be gay. Don't be gay."
That's the real conversion therapy right there.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to that. Again, put another pin in it. So, but even if we ignore the implications of that, as psychologist Tess Gemberling pointed out,
specifically, although theories describing its origin abound, it remains unclear whether BDSM is best conceptualized as a sexual behavior, sexual attraction, sexual identity, and/or sexual orientation for those who practice for sexual purposes. Consistent with a sex-positive framework, BDSM may be best conceptualized as another form of sexual orientation for a percentage of practitioners.
Bullshit. Nope.
Really?
BDSM is not a separate sexuality.
BDSM is... It's going to be LGBTQ BDSM?
Yeah, is that what it is now?
Like, sexually brutalizing people is not an orientation, you sadistic weirdo.
Oh my god.
Whoa.
Look at the title of this study. BDSM as sexual orientation, a comparison to lesbian, gay, and bisexual sexuality.
Hey,
Fuck
Tenny.
off.
Sexually brutalizing people has been a proud and inclusive part of the lesbian experience.
Actually, that's true. So I retract my
Part of
statement.
the heterosexual experience too.
Yeah, just look at Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
That's so mean.
You know, Vikings.
Yeah.
Greeks. Well, they weren't all.
Yeah. Although it is great that he won his defamation suit against Amber Heard, which means that abusers and liars about abuse can go get fucked.
I thought it was good because women lost.
I mean, that's also great, but
patriarchy wins again, undefeated.
Just like indicate.
Kink is often so fundamental to our sexual identities that it has to be, at least in some cases, an orientation. Our orientation is so deeply rooted that many of us feel we were born with it. For us, kink mixes language, ritual, trust, power, pleasure, pain, and identity in a way that can't be captured by a stereotype. If you accept this definition, then my kink is my sexual orientation. It's not my choice, it's not my illness, and it's definitely not my hobby.
That one's aimed at you, Gabbles.
Then what is it then? Then what is it? If it's not
an orientation.
It's an orientation. That's what they're saying.
Who is this Jillian Keenan? I gotta look this up.
Yeah, look
a white woman.
Also, if kink is fundamental to your sexual identity, that's...
I'm more concerned about being born with it. You're born with it?
Yeah. Like, nobody
what?
is born. Nobody is born with a kink. Like, nobody is born...
What you doing at 3 years old with a kink? Nah.
No one grows up and goes through puberty and thinks, I wish I had a whip flogging me right now. No one thinks about that. Okay? That is an acquired preference or choice. It is literally a choice.
So Jillian Keenan is a Slate columnist, I guess.
That's not surprising.
Here's some of the headlines. How Shakespeare helped me understand my need for spanking.
Oh.
Okay.
A court ruled that BDSM cannot be a right without history. That logic deserves a whipping.
Oh my god.
Is kink a sexual orientation?
Judging by the title of some of these articles, I'm starting to notice a pattern here.
Yeah.
This person seems to be like unhealthily obsessed with spanking and being like beaten.
Well, here's the next title of the article, Tenny. Spanking is a sex act.
Ooh.
No, it's what the fuck?
So should we?
What National Review doesn't understand about sex? So going after conservatives there, and then kick Andrew Jackson off the $20 bill. So
classic
with spanking.
That was the
Spank
most.
Andrew Jackson right off the $20.
Oh! I found a good one. In defense of polyamory.
Oh, of course.
So this is like the put in as many words to say you
so
have
this is Jillian Keenan.
Sounds like a scholar.
Did she have a certain flag in her bio?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't checked the Twitter. Nah.
Okay.
Nah. There's no flag, unfortunately.
It seems like this person apparently just tries to work, has a hang up where they have to work their sexual fetish into whatever aspect of their life they can. And that does not mean that you were born with it. It just means that you're a weirdo and you need to get your shit set straight.
Is somebody this obsessed with kink any different from like the people that have like a Star Wars house? You know what I mean? Like where it's like everything is Star Wars in their house, or Disney. Like is this really any that much different?
I could see the argument that it's not a choice in the sense that it could be something that organically arises out of puberty. Like you have some encounter, you have some experience, and then that just sticks with you and it forever changes the wiring in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just like undo that, but you still have the choice to either indulge in it and feed it and expand it and explore it, or just kind of downplay it, ignore it. Keep it very private, keep it very, out of the public sphere.
Conceal, don't feel.
I mean, it's sort of like, remember the first Kink at Pride video we watched? He had like a very serious moment where he talked about his friend that had choked himself to death.
Right.
He had a breast play fetish.
It's very sad, Gabbles.
Yeah, don't laugh. Oh, you ghoul.
It's funny.
But like, yeah, it's kind of like maybe that is an example of Kink kind of getting out of control there. You don't really need to act it out all the time to the point where you're asphyxiating yourself to death.
Have some self-control,
Yeah.
It may also be helpful, by the way, to point out what Kink is. Because we typically think of Kink as things like...
What?
I just wanted to say, you'd think that, all these people into BDSM would know restraint.
Hey! That was worth it.
Bondage or spanking or, leather. This is kind of faux leather, but close enough. But kink, in many ways, is actually always a moving target. Kink is actually defined as anything that isn't considered normal by society in a sexual context. It's anything deemed weird by culture at large. Today, things like polyamory are still considered to be kinky in some contexts.
I don't consider it kinky, but I do consider it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of societies where that's accepted.
Except maybe Mormonism.
That's not polyamory.
Okay.
That's polygamy.
Right.
Polygamy,
different.
very common. Polyamory, the idea that you're just running around sleeping with whoever freely with no hard attachments. That's not a normal thing in most human societies.
I mean, that was the fall of Rome.
Clearly.
Things go wrong when that happens, generally. Oh, are we gonna get through this video?
We're halfway through.
Halfway through.
Whoa,
how much of the ending is like
there.
credits or whatever? You know how these people are.
It actually is, yeah.
I was expecting a fucking philosophy tube style fucking musical breakout sometime.
Honestly, it would have been a welcome surprise.
It would have been shit, but it would have been
give us a reason to skip.
True. Give us some content to skip. Come on.
Yeah.
She's essentially saying that, like, daddy issues is an immutable trait. I don't think that's true.
That would be very upsetting if true.
Yeah. Daddy issues are an immutable trait.
You get pulled out of the vagina and the doctor spanks you and like, oh, harder.
Despite the fact that polyamorous people can practice it safely, consensually, and can also have the most vanilla sex that you've ever seen. Believe me, I have experience with polyamorous people, and they're not as crazy out there as you would think. That is a stereotype. And
as she tells us with her tits out.
Yeah.
Don't worry, they're not as weird as you think.
I kind of believe her. I think a lot of polyamorous people are just gross. Probably very
sad.
Boring.
Yeah.
Probably very boring in the sack, and that's why they.
That's why they have to substitute quantity for quality.
Let's keep going.
On that note, everything from gay sex to just being trans has been seen as a kink at some point throughout our history, just within the past 200 years. Kink was even inherently seen as misogynistic very recently. And again, we will be coming back to that, so remember all those pins.
Oh my god, another pin?
You're asking a lot of me, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I forgot what we were just talking about a minute ago. So
True.
Because being gay was viewed as a kink in the past, we need to still view it as which was bad. We need to still view it as a kink today to honor that bad past when it was viewed as a kink, I guess.
Yeah.
Kink is an orientation, and gay is an orientation, right. So gay is also a kink.
And
it's all the same thing.
Kink deserves to be a part of the LGBT.
What color is it going to be on the flag? Just splashes of white.
Well, they already took black.
No, it's gonna be no. It's gonna be a big red. it's gonna be a leather buckle that goes across the whole thing.
Oh, just a ball
And
gag.
it ties it all together.
Be a ball gag.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be like a fucking Japanese flag, and it has a red ball right in the middle.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I don't like that
feels
sound.
great. So again, pride is about finding pride in the things that society tells you is uncomfortable. So to take kink from pride because it doesn't face discrimination is not only patently false, but again, goes against the very notion of what pride is.
What?
You should be proud of things society doesn't like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, just like padded for.
Kevin Spacey.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
This is a difficult one.
Consent.
Consent. When some people argue that when people go to Pride, they don't consent to seeing someone in leather or assless chaps or a giant dildo monster.
Correct.
And honestly, this is the argument that I have most sympathy for. Obviously, we want to be careful of when it comes to consent and what people are consenting to in any sort of space, especially when it revolves around sex. And that's something that kink is about too. Kink is all about consent, about doing something between consenting adults, regardless of whatever it is.
And this is an argument.
I like that addendum was obviously post video.
Yeah.
Because you think Jessie Gender watched this back and was like, ooh, without that addendum, this sounds really bad. Which we're going to see what sounds really bad.
Oh, we've already seen what looks really bad.
Yeah, true. But yeah, just keep in mind that addendum was put in probably after Jessie rewatched this. I was like, oh boy, I need that.
Argument I hear quite often, even within my own family. When I spent time in quarantine at my parents' home in New Mexico last year, I actually got into an argument with my very own stepmother about this very topic. She talked about how a few years ago, when she took my younger sister, who was 16 at the time, to her first Pride event, she, my stepmom, was very uncomfortable just walking around and seeing how quote-unquote sexualized the event was. She argued that she shouldn't have to see that. Why do gay people need to be so out there? Don't they just want to be, politically expedient? Don't they want to just be seen as normal, just be like every...
See, and there we go. She's just totally epitomizing why you don't want to do it. Because she just quoted her stepmom as saying, like, why do all gay people need to be like this?
Yeah.
Stepmom.
Yeah.
And the answer should be... And the answer should, or response to that should be, hashtag not all gay people.
Yeah, but not according to Jessie.
Everyone else. This idea of consent. This idea of like, well, she was there and she didn't consent to see these, what she saw as sexual things in her purview. But the thing is, she chose to be there. Yes, she was bringing my sister who wanted to be there, but it was her choice to do that. Does she...
Did you see what she was wearing? It was her choice to wear that.
You chose to go down that alley, okay? You
Yeah,
chose to walk out at night.
Yeah, you chose to walk in the park at night.
But this is such bullshit.
Yeah.
She knows this is bullshit, right?
Well, that's why she added that addendum.
Yeah.
No, but she has to know there's a very big difference between saying I do to another man and what's the safe word.
But also like a huge difference between like being in a public place and then somebody starts having like sex in front of you or doing sexual things.
Yeah.
And like consenting to that happening in front of you,
Yeah,
like it just
there's a reason
happening
there
without
are laws that govern that kind of behavior in public. Because you don't consent to seeing that.
Right.
If a guy flashes his dick at you
why
on the street, like I didn't consent to that. I didn't ask you to do that.
But why do people feel the need to bring all this shit into the public? It's like, I mean, most...
Hey, have you not been listening to whole 16 minutes? That's what she was supposed to be saying.
I mean, like, straight people don't... Well, yeah, they do. They do it terribly. Never mind. But
And
like,
it's gross when they do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, we don't have any problem calling that shit out. It's pretty fucking easy when like somebody's doing something in public that's degenerate. That when straight people do it. What is so fucking hard about this? Just because it's like at Pride.
Because Pride was a protest and it needs to be subversive. Weren't you paying attention?
Yeah.
It's the point.
Yeah, I guess.
Point is to be gross.
Yeah. You wanna shake those normies into hating you, I guess?
Stupid normies.
Yeah. Be subversive. Don't be normal. Don't be accepted.
Don't get
have
married.
the right to police other people in public for wearing stuff because she chose to be in a space that she didn't have to be in. Why is it incumbent on others around you to hide themselves because you're uncomfortable? And where does that stop? You can say, oh, that guy.
Wow. Wow.
Are you saying you're imposing your will upon me?
Yeah, why is it incumbent on you to not act out your sexual pleasure and fetishes and what makes you cum buckets in front of other people so then they don't feel uncomfortable? What right do they have?
And are
to
you
stop
saying
you
that
from doing
she
that?
is necessarily the minority? I mean, you yourself have explained how being in Pride and seeing that once did make you feel uncomfortable, even
Right.
if it was years ago.
Yeah.
They just need to get over it.
Yeah, just get over
Be gay like me.
it.
Guy has assless chaps. Cover yourself up. Oh, that girl's skirt is a little bit too short. She should wear a longer one. Oh, that person looks just even slightly sexy to me. They should cover up their entire body. You see where I'm going with that? You see how...
Is that like the Islam argument?
See this giant slippery slope that I'm greasing up
Right.
with reckless
That we
abandon
use ourselves.
that we use at the Pride Parade.
But Kav, like 40,000 comments under the average Lotus Eaters video told me the slippery slope was real.
Only the slippery slopes I come up with are real.
Right, exactly.
The ones that prove my point, those are real.
Yeah.
No, this
Oh,
here just it doesn't make sense because obviously there are cultural norms about what modes of dress are appropriate, and it's going to vary, but there still are norms. And if you go against the norms, you're going to get some flack. And sorry, that's the human condition. That's how things work.
Yeah. It's like when we were, if you have a fucking if you have a fucking mohawk, you should expect to get stares, If you're standing out and you want to be different, you should expect that. It's not upon the onus of everyone else to be more comfortable with you standing out.
And we kind of missed this point earlier because I kind of made it with like the, trans people feeling excluded from society. So they make the argument that that leads to higher suicide ideation and higher suicide completion. But so Jessie went through just a little minute ago that whole thing about how Kinksters are oppressed and have always been oppressed throughout history. And then now arguing again for, well, we need to remain on the outskirts of society to, be cool because it's actually oppressive to us or whatever. I don't even understand you're going back and forth between Kink was being oppressed, but we need to, because it was on the seen as the outside of society, but we need to remain the outside of society.
Yeah. You would
it's
think
not
you'd
very
want
consistent.
to normalize kink.
No, it's a bad word.
Like say, okay, actually kink is quite common. Let's talk about it in a healthy manner. I don't. You would think something like that, or you could try to sell it.
Yeah, I will give credit to the original Kinksters video that we watched because that's kind of their whole bag is like, let's normalize kink. Whereas Jessie Gender is let's keep it on the outskirts of society, but also we're oppressed because we're on the outskirts of society.
Spirals out into things where we are controlling and policing other people's bodies because of something that we feel, because of our uncomfortability. Again, it keeps coming back to the same feeling that someone else is making someone feel uncomfortable. And so they say that they should feel shame, that they should cover up, that they should hide themselves because someone else feels uncomfortable. You're putting your feelings onto someone else and telling them they should feel shame for something that you're feeling.
Look, just saying no to somebody because you don't want to have sex with them is making them feel uncomfortable and feel like you don't want them. Okay? Could you see why that addendum was added?
Yeah.
I mean, if Pride wasn't in a public space, then this argument might hold weight. But this is in public.
Yeah.
This is in front of God and everybody in public, outside. This is not in your own home. This is not in. Jesus Christ.
You didn't rent a. What do you rent for? A
Holiday Inn
convention. Yeah, rent a Holiday Inn and poop in the hallways.
And if it's for a convention, you can have them set up a litter box in the lobby.
Yeah, host a convention where it's a private event.
There's tons of kink conventions.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Furries have been doing that since the 70s.
And
Really?
look where that got them.
Perfect acceptance in society.
Again, Pride is about celebrating ourselves and our bodily openly. If you're uncomfortable, you don't have to be there. Now, I'm not saying that Pride has to be this debaucherous place where everything's just going crazy and it's like insanity in the streets. I'm not saying that you have to be involved in sex acts that you don't want to be involved in.
That's what
but
you just
also,
said.
no one is doing that at Pride. No one is fucking in the middle of the street at Pride.
I've been to a few prides where there's some fucking going on in the crowds. I'm just saying.
I was gonna say, except for the lesbian Avengers.
Yeah, except for the lesbian Avengers. Remember Bedgate?
Yeah.
Yes.
Although they were heavy petting, they didn't.
I'm sure there is sexual activity at Pride events on occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look down the alley, you know.
Yeah, I've been there. I've seen it.
There are 18 plus areas at every Pride event that I know of that people can go into and choose to go into. But again, those are areas that you choose to go into.
But also, just to be clear, I've been focusing on the extreme end of this line of thought when it comes to consent. Yet, I also totally understand and accept that there should be some spaces at Pride that focus on the sex-averse or sex-repulsed, or those who don't want to be around kink or anything that they might consider to be sexual. For example, there are those like my stepmom who I love and I would love to have her feel comfortable coming with me to a Pride event. There's also members of the asexual and other communities who are
Oh, that's the reason for this addendum. you got a woke signal. You got a woke signal.
I was gonna say that sounded a bit like, is this sex segregation?
You know what's funny? In the other kink video that we watched, our first video, he did the same thing where he like stopped the conversation to like do an addendum about like, and just so you know, I include asexual people in this. You know, I know that they. Yeah.
I know that they will literally explode if they see a penis.
Right.
I acknowledge.
repulsed. There are also some folks who are just uncomfortable with sex in general, especially considering how much of our society mystifies sex. And I totally understand wanting to create a space for them too, and that's just as necessary. They are just as much a part of this community and should be allowed at Pride. But I also don't think we need to pit one against the other. We should try to create spaces for both as best we can.
That's exactly what you want to do, though. Like, the whole reason that you're saying you want to be subversive is because you want to pit it against society.
And you know what's really nice about this picture here?
What?
No leather.
Yeah, look at all that kink.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So kinky.
Yeah,
indeed.
Everybody's super kinky.
And we'll also recognize there are no perfect solutions. This is an ongoing conversation that...
No, there is a perfect solution. Don't just leave your kink gear at home.
Yeah, that is it's literally the best solution. Just
go one day.
Just literally just don't put it on in public.
Yeah,
in a
just
public
one
setting.
day is all we ask.
What? Literally, just don't do it in public. That's the only thing that is required of you. Everybody else can do it. Everybody else is perfectly able to do it.
And not even a day, like 4 hours. Like 4 hours, just until the Wells Fargo float pass.
Do you need to do not show up in assless chaps and leather gear to the grocery store again. They will kick you out. We've been through this. The manager's going to get a restraining order, and you can't come to the grocery stop. But then
stakes down your pants.
Yeah.
Stop trying to put pins in your ass like your proxy page.
There's like 8 pins. How many pins are we up to?
It makes it harder for us to organize the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
It needs to happen at each and every Pride event to see what is possible in each community. As always, it's a discussion, not a dictation or overriding rule. And also, just to be entirely clear here, if someone is in the middle of Pride or in public doing an explicitly sexual act and then just trying to defend themselves saying like, oh, it's just kink, I'm just doing kink at Pride, I think that needs to be pushed back against, and that can be considered breaking consent. However, I have to say that is a very nuanced conversation. While some things may be obviously like everyone would agree that is sexual, there are gray areas that make it really difficult to talk about, and I think it just needs to have a discussion. Because as we will talk about in our final section, what is considered sexual has always been a moving target and sometimes been weaponized against marginalized communities.
Yeah, it's getting weaponized because of people like you.
Yeah, when you try and purposely make people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, they tend not to like that.
And especially when you bring it to the forefront like this, in a way where people can look at it and be like, this is representative of the whole, then you kind of poison the water yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. You idiot.
I mean, And who
that's
who's responsible for 50% of the goalpost moving? It isn't like the homophobes doing all of it, like a huge portion of the goalpost moving and saying that something is or isn't sexual, and making the argument so much more complicated is the movement itself, the activists themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, redefining what kink is and what queer is and what. It's a lot of goalpost moving.
You mean the most oppressed class? Queers?
Yes.
But there are folks who want to police people's activities just by being around them, or even further, police what people do in their own spaces that they aren't even privy to because it riles them up that people are even doing something that they see as subversive or shameful because they can't stop thinking about it. Which means another point, another pin. I love.
For Christ's sakes, we're 2/3 of the way through this video. You have 8 pins. You got all these plates spinning. What are you gonna do?
I'll not sit down for one.
I'm gonna take.
I'm guessing none of these are satisfactorily resolved.
Yeah.
It's all gonna be on one fell swoop. It's gonna pull a magnet and it's gonna pull out all the pins at once.
This.
Oh.
And this brings us to the final one, that pride should be family friendly. We should think of the children. Please, please think of the children.
Well, think of the children that are going to be kicked out of their homes because their parents think that they're, they say they're gay because they're sexual freaks or something, and they don't want that in their house. That should be the children you're thinking of.
Think of the actual, gay children who don't have a healthy outlet for their feelings because all they see are degenerates on floats in public, like you. You are actively making it harder for gay teens to be okay with who they are because all you're doing is just displaying all this hypersexual nonsense. And you're not making it easier for kids for teenagers who are gay to feel better about themselves and try to actually change the minds of the people around them who might not be already as tolerant.
Yeah, or you're kind of encouraging them to engage in like, oh, this is what being gay is. This is how I should act. So encouraging them to engage in risky behavior, because I don't know if you know this, but kind of like risky sexual behavior leads to maybe HIV infection, which is a big problem in the gay community.
And worst of all, think of the kids who have maybe more progressive leaning parents who say, hey, I want to go to Pride. And they're like, okay, sure, you can go to Pride. And then the adults get to see, like, wait, this is what's going on here? Oh no, now I don't want you to be gay. I don't want anything like this. Or even worse, the kids that go there thinking that it's, a pride parade, it's going to be a cool thing, and they get to experience what it's like to be gay, and they become exposed to this degeneracy, and then they end up being groomed.
Yeah, that could happen too. So yes, we probably should. Yeah, we probably should think of the children. I mean, just saying. But let's see what Jessie's argument is.
This think of the children narrative that this always centers on. Never mind the fact that, again, parents are the one choosing to bring their kids there. That parents can choose or not choose to bring their kids if it's something that they feel isn't safe for their kids to be around.
And to be very clear here, this is an incredibly nuanced discussion.
Yeah, because here's another one. Because
it's a nuanced conversation that you're obviously not a part of.
Yeah, because what if? I mean, it's okay for gay parents to exist now. So yeah, I was just thinking that too.
I agree. This is a very nuanced, one-sided conversation.
Yeah,
that they realized after they recorded it. And they had to go back and re-record some more. Like, oh wait, actually, it's kind of nuanced, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I'll bet you she showed this video to some people in the group, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, you probably want to tweak this part."
So what you're saying is that test audiences are good.
Yeah.
I get not wanting to expose kids to things that society or their parents may consider too sexual for their age. And I also do think that parents should be allowed to feel comfortable bringing their kids to Pride without worry that they might be exposed to something that their parents feel that they aren't ready for, or that we as a society or a culture feel that kids aren't ready for.
Hold on, can we pause?
Look at this kid in this obey hat. What is this? What is this garbage?
Okay.
Go ahead.
You know what kind of bothers me? The way phrased this. So Jessie's saying it's just things that their parents don't approve of or society doesn't approve of. Okay, but are there things that children objectively should not be exposed to, or does Jessie just not believe that?
Right. Yeah, that's
a
ooh.
weird way
Gay
to phrase
community?
it. Like,
No, the queers.
If they said, children could be exposed to things that would be harmful or unhealthy or dangerous, or you could even tone it down and say like inappropriate. But Jessie won't even commit to that, as if there just is no such thing as an inappropriate thing for a child to see.
Or like a developmentally damaging thing.
So it just makes me wonder, do you actually think that is such a thing as a thing that is inappropriate for children, or do you think actually none of it is? It's all fine. That's very sus.
You're very, very sus.
I don't think this needs to be a zero-sum game. I think we can create family-friendly spaces, or maybe even days where certain things are and aren't allowed, to enable everyone to feel like they can participate comfortably, but also express themselves in a way that is subversive or express.
Days? We already have a whole month. How much longer do you want to extend this bullshit?
Pride is all year round, honey.
Come on.
Is who they are. And if you're a parent who doesn't want their kid to see kink at Pride, I totally understand. But to try to dictate the entirety of a Pride event based on this concept goes against the very notion of what Pride should be about, in my opinion, and can be just as ostracizing to those who feel the opposite of what we've been arguing here. People who feel like they want to be able to express kink at Pride should have an ability to do so. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game, though, and it doesn't have to.
That wasn't your opinion. Your opinion is that it needs to be subversive.
To be an infighting thing, but again, we should create that discussion. My issue really is saying that it has to be one thing or the other, and always using kids as the way to do that. Because you know what all or nothing arguments sound like to me? A binary. And you know what I say to binaries? Fuck that. But I also...
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You're a trans,
also, I did want
a trans woman. You believe in the binary.
Yeah.
Don't be.
Wait a minute. If you say fuck that, the binaries, why'd you get bottom surgery? Why did you transition into like?
She wanted to fuck the binary. That's why.
Right. Hey.
Oh, then she should have kept the penis. Come on. What are you gonna do? Oh no, she wants to get fucked by the binary. I see.
The tables
I
have
will
turned.
say though, I don't think it's a problem that you have differing opinions of the gay of Pride. I think it's that you have a different idea of what Pride is and different view of it than what the general public is meant to be, as you've illustrated through this entire video.
Gabbles has come out with another Stone Toss edit. That Stone Toss template will always be relevant.
Yeah, it's just the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Is that gonna be the new running gag for the show?
It should be.
Just Stone Toss edits? Oh, we could do that every single time. Honestly.
3 Homos and a Pussy
to
brought
the
to you
audience,
by...
We at 3 Homos and a Pussy definitely subscribe to all of Stone Toss's views, especially about people's
whoa.
certain ethnic proclivities.
Whoa.
Yeah, we agree with all of it. I subscribe to that man's
I disavow.
Or that
I disavow. Danimal disavows.
That woman of color person's newsletter. I still choose to believe that.
I don't subscribe to all their views. However, I will still maintain, and I will say this until my dying breath or until I'm proven wrong, but Stone Toss is, and perhaps will always be, the one and only good political cartoonist.
No.
The only one. Everyone else sucks. Man. They're not funny.
No, YOLO swag? Are you serious?
Oh, YOLO swag.
YOLO swag. I feel it's too fucking tongue-in-cheek parody.
I love that.
I'm like, I don't fucking know. And it's too fucking pushing. No, the problem is that I don't like it when it's too pushing agenda or like, this view's stupid. It isn't that right? And whereas Stone Toss actually makes jokes. It can make.
We got Amazon talking about comics. We're gonna be here for.
How dare you?
Something. Is this going to become another BCB rant? And if so,
how dare you?
How many hours will it be?
Let's keep.
I have you know, the longest BCB rant is only 2 hours. Okay.
2.
Let's do that.
But I also think that in some ways it's healthy to normalize sex and sexuality. Now, let me be clear here. I am not saying that kids should be involved in sexual acts or anything like that. No, 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 no. But that strawman idea, that's what I'm saying, feeds into this repeated refrain that LGBTQ folks are pedophiles trying to harm and sexualize your children. But
where do you think they get people like that get the idea? Or where do you think they get the fuel that they need for their views?
I don't know, maybe the fact that she just said we should normalize sexual content with children. That might have something to do with it. We should normalize letting kids see sexual things.
We shouldn't hide our deviancy.
Like that. Oh, I'm not saying they should be involved in it. I'm just saying they should get used to seeing it on the street.
They should be exposed to it.
They should be exposed to it. That's not a step in the grooming process at all.
Mm-hmm.
Ay.
I just wanted to marry dudes.
Yeah, I just wanted to not get beat up. I just wanted to live with my husband. That's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to do.
Like that meme of I just wanted to play video games.
Yeah, I just wanted to play video games.
No. Fucking that. You know what? Photoshop that meme of the fucking guy with the shotgun coming in to shoot the lefty, and he's like, I just wanted to grill, and it's the fucking Clippers. That's animal right there.
Not what we're talking about. We're talking about letting kids have a healthy relationships with sex and sexuality at a slower pace instead of a way where we just hide it away so no one ever sees it, no one ever talks about it, and so kids feel a sense of like mystery and shame around the very concept of sex.
That's kind of shame's a good thing though, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad thing to have with sex is shame.
Yeah, I mean,
you kind of need that to keep your dignity.
Yeah, especially because if you remain shameful at least a little of it until you're old enough to understand what's right, what's wrong, like, or where you're not going to be as desensitized to what is viewed as the norm, and thus you reach for the more deviant. Like, it's not bad. Is that so wrong?
Yeah, it's called having boundaries.
And there are 18 plus areas where kids aren't allowed in, so public spaces are different. Kids don't need protecting from the very notion of sex or sexuality. That's the very puritanical attitude that Pride is all about fighting. This idea that sex is a scary thing that kids should never even hear a whisper about.
Why do people think gays are pedophiles, guys?
I wonder.
I can't imagine why.
It's a mystery to me.
So what year
Jesus
did Nambla
Christ.
get kicked out?
That was 90.
Let's talk about Harry Hay.
That was 92.
30-year anniversary.
Yeah. That's a proud moment. To be fair, it was always a small membership and nobody really paid attention to it.
Right,
The internet wasn't really around.
Yeah.
All understandable. They were a fringe group. No one really took them seriously, but it was a thing. There is this strain of thinking, and this doesn't help.
Yeah, it really doesn't help. You're not helping, Jessie Gender.
We've seen where the slippery slope goes now.
Slippery slope was real.
No.
Again, I'm not saying that kids need to know all the details, and there are different ages to talk about different things, and that's up to every single parent. But it's also healthy to expose kids to understanding that sex and sexuality is something normal, so that they don't grow up with that internalized shame. As someone myself who grew
exposing kids to sexuality is normal. Why do people think gays are sexual predators?
No, stop, Jesse.
This kind of person is the kind of person that this is why sodomy laws will make a comeback. This is why more people will become homophobic in the future. This is what people like this keep real bigotry alive, and they're stoking the flames of it. These people poke the bear, they kick the hornet's nest, and they kick it or poke it one too many times, and it'll come back and it'll bite them all in the ass, and it won't be good for anybody else.
No.
These are the kind of videos Nick Fuentes watches to give him an erection for two reasons.
I know both of those reasons.
Yeah,
at least one of them.
Just make sure he has his blacklight handy. Hashtag cum cop.
Oh, no.
But unironically, like, when it comes to anti-LGBT types, like, Jessie is the best gift they could possibly ask
for.
Yeah, absolutely.
They probably love this video's existence.
Gavel's just called Dick Fuentes Columbo.
Just one more thing. I noticed
it's
you had some cum on your keyboard there.
Now my wife has a cousin Lou, and when he shoots ropes.
No, I can't help but notice that.
To get that.
You can't but notice.
But Gemini, you're absolutely correct. This is like the best gift. And you know what those people do is they take things like this, and where like maybe like I don't know how many people saw this video. I don't know what the count on it is, but let's just say it's, what do you think Jessie Gender polls? Like 30,000, 60,000?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. So like a Michael Knowles will take this and shoot it to an audience of millions. And this is what that audience is going to see, is this single opinion. And he's going to say, this is what they want. This is what it was all about. They said they just wanted to get married, but that was a lie.
And then you'll find like people like, I don't know, maybe a Matt Walsh or someone like that, some sort of pundit or hack will take this bit of the video out of context and they'll put it on Twitter. And they'll be like,
although the context isn't that great, Tenny, to be fair.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, but like taking out the context,
it'll be a
for like a short Twitter clip makes it, it'll be like a short out of context clip, and it'll just get millions of retweets and likes and angry comments and quote tweets, and it'll just it's like the gay men's choir we're coming for your children video. It's the same phenomenon.
What were you thinking?
What were these people? What was running through their brains at the time they made this? You know, it's
subversive. They wanted to be subversive.
Yeah,
nothing more subversive than acting out your kink in front of children.
It's just it's like these kinds of people are why the conservatives were making the slippery slope argument in the first place. Back when gay marriage was being legalized, you know, this is these kinds of people are why you still have like pundits and talking heads making these trying to justify their asinine bigotry with this kind of garbage. It's absurd.
This is the kind of stuff John Doyle loves.
Exactly. People like John Doyle, Matt Walsh, or Michael Knowles, these pundits and hacks who are looking for any little smidgen of, or any juicy little morsel that they can take out of context, or, well, context be damned in this case, they can take out of context, put on Twitter, or put on their YouTube channel, and react to, and soy point, and do all of that.
Kind of what we're doing.
Where it's like, yeah, but we're doing it better.
We're the best soy
point. And then they use that to justify their garbage and oftentimes genuine bigotry.
Not to interrupt Tenny, but
shameful, and it's shameful, and people like her should really be ashamed.
They'll never stop him on a roll.
You can never stop.
Genuinely, like, Jessie, stop. Get off this platform. Stop with your garbage opinions.
No, not on camera.
We need to commission an artist to draw us all soy pointing.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be really
We
fun.
definitely do. David Aragon, if you're listening.
Yeah.
I got a $10 bill with your name on it.
I need a PFP that's consistent, or a theme at least.
Grew up in a Roman Catholic family who was so goddamn sexually repressed, the only time they were able to even talk about sex was in the dirtiest of jokes around the Christmas tree. Believe me, I have stories. I know what it feels like to feel sexual shame. Well,
why a Christmas tree though? Like,
okay.
What is that, a Christmas tree? Is it a Griswold family tradition
to make dirty jokes?
Imagine like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but it's like they're just like all gathered on the Christmas tree drinking eggnog and making dirty jokes.
Yeah, it sounds
I
like
wish
fun.
that were my life.
Well, you know what? The dirty jokes wouldn't be as funny with like kink all normalized and stuff. Just saying,
True.
Yeah,
ruining comedy too.
That's true.
Needs to have that bite to be comedic.
Yeah,
that's why we've now started to joke about pedophilia.
Save the next for me, Clark.
That's why racism is funny now, right?
Yep. Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Wait, you guys are really doing it to be funny?
Oh, Teddy.
Because I wasn't taught that sex was normal. Even right now, I feel shame at my body and wearing this outfit because I feel kind of gross and nasty and wrong to do so. But it's my body, and sex is okay, and being sexy is okay, and showing my body is okay.
Well, you don't, but you just said you feel kind of gross, and that, like, you feel like that's not feeling sexy.
So you force yourself into a situation where you're uncomfortable, and that's empowering?
I feel
empowered. Clothing that I don't like wearing and makes me feel uncomfortable.
That really activates my almonds right there. It's almost That's a very interesting thing.
So you're gross, and yet you feel very empowered. Are you the toxic Avenger?
So putting
this is
yourself
kind
in
of-
clothing and living a lifestyle that makes you feel uncomfortable, so that you can be empowered. That's very interesting.
We got it.
God, okay. How many? Make a counter for the hums.
But I have all that internalized shame, and I wish I could have been taught that that was normal. And that's healthy to teach kids at a young age, to not be ashamed of themselves or sex or their bodies. Remember that story of my stepmom going to Pride? Well, she went because my sister wanted to go. You see, my sister had been going through a lot of crap at that time. She was 16, and I'm not going to share her story because that's hers to tell, but suffice it to say, she had gone through some shit. Like a lot of shit. Shit that scared my whole family and me. But going to Pride meant a lot to her. It let her see that some of the feelings that she was having, some of the things that she was struggling with, weren't weird or awful or strange. They could be, in some contexts, normal. And getting to see those...
You were just talking about how you didn't want it to be normal, though.
Yeah, you're sending very different signals here. Do you want it to be normal and for kids not to feel ashamed of themselves, or do you want it to be special and subversive and all that shit? Make up your mind, dude.
Here's the question, though. Was it the kink stuff that made her feel that it was normal, or was it the fact that there were millions of people, or hundreds or thousands of people at this Pride parade that were all being accepting and welcoming of one another, that made her feel like she was normal and that she was okay?
People dress normally, talking to each other normally.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that helped her. Instead of seeing, it was the dog masks. You're right. It was the dog masks and the leashes and the harnesses. That's what did it.
It was a good hard spanking.
Yeah, good hard spanking.
Well, that's why he keeps doing that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, by the way, we are almost 10 minutes away from the end of this video, and we haven't gone to any of these pins yet. Just saying.
Yeah.
God.
Kinky things that so bothered my stepmother made my sister feel okay for once in a very long time. And my sister isn't a kinky person at all, but the whole idea of being LGBTQ was seen in her mind to be kinky. Is what you're saying? So just be at this...
Yeah, no, I talked over that, but I think that was kind of insane.
And my sister isn't a kinky person at all, but the whole idea of being LGBTQ was seen in her mind to be kinky. So to just be at this event where people were taking pride in...
So she was struggling with her LGBTQ identity because in her mind she saw that they were kinky, and that was her struggle, was because she didn't want to be. So that's why we should have kink at Pride? Your sister was just literally having the struggle that I was describing at the beginning of the video. I described at the middle of the video when we were talking about Think of the Kids. Your sister was going through that exact struggle, that hypothetical situation that I was raising. And your conclusion is, well, we need more kink.
Yeah, it doesn't follow.
You fucking moron.
Maybe you should look more into the nuance.
Maybe do another cutaway.
Another addendum.
Stick another pin, this time harder and deeper.
Girthier.
Just dumb.
Hey, no.
Just dumb.
Yeah.
These feelings. Something that she had been told to feel ashamed of. And even going even further beyond that and saying, like, even this far is okay and normal and fine. So as someone that she was feeling was a little bit pulled back from that was important to her, even though she was a kid. The same for me, by the way. You know, I was a scared trans person too, who wasn't sure if I wanted to come out, if I felt safe, if I could be prideful, or I could be happy as a trans person. And going to Pride, seeing people go the extra mile, going super far, even further than what I would normally consider to be just a, vanilla trans person, that made me feel good. It's like, okay, if that's okay, maybe I am too. And seeing other trans people
I just have to wonder, though, what is super far trans? Is it like...
It's like Superfly.
Do you become like an amorphous blob? You ascend past the binary? I'm just curious.
I have ascended. But yeah, once again, describing the situation that I described where, you had it in your mind that this was all kind of not for you and super kinky and you didn't want to be degenerate. And then when you met normal people, you were fine with it. So why do you want kink at Pride again? Like, this is just selfish, right? Like, that's the reason for wanting kink at Pride is to just be selfish. Because
I want it.
Yeah, because they're not tying it to any of like Jessie's not tying it to any of her life experience, where she's come across the things that we talked about in this video in her own life, of her stepmom not liking it, of her sister having this vision that, being LGBT means that you're like this like freakish monster that's like only into sex, right?
Yeah.
But now you're arguing
her being uncomfortable with it when she first encountered it.
Right. So what's your reason? What's your reason for wanting kink at Pride other than just selfish? Just, I want this. This makes me feel good. I don't, you know what? I know that it made these other people feel uncomfortable. I know it did this detrimental, view for my sister and all this, and for me, honestly. But I want this now. So this is for me.
And I just want to say, like, I think one of the things that I've learned, and I think a lot of people have learned about, in terms of, especially if we're accepting homosexuality and all sort of sexualities across the now endless spectrum, is that one of the things is that we've learned that we are more than our sexuality. And that's kind of the reason why people are so obsessed with representation, why representation in a lot of places is very good, because we are able to see different aspects of being a gay man. And being a gay man no longer just means that, you're the effeminate wrist-slacking lisp slinger, You can be a normal, productive member of society, and you just prefer men, and you can be or you can prefer women, or you can be whatever you want, and that's kind of how we societally have learned to be more accepting of these gay and queer cultures, and why we are at the position that we are now. But to bring sexuality to be louder and more to the forefront is very reductive, and it makes it seem to where that sexuality becomes a bigger part than it actually is.
Yeah, spot on.
And you see, we've come full circle, because by arguing to protect kids from this stuff is actually saying you want them to come to learn that this stuff is shameful, something to be hidden away in a closet.
Fuck off.
To never let anyone know that they feel. Now that,
at your boners,
that
kids.
Definitely sounds familiar.
I was gonna say, this is where...
Alright, time to take out all those pins, because
here we go.
It's time to talk about this. I've been trying to keep this conversation mainly focused around kink, but it's been really hard to do that because this whole conversation honestly revolves around everything that LGBTQ community fights back against. As I said, kink has never been defined as just like leather daddies and bondage and things like that. Kink is always seen as anything defined as abnormal, sexual, and strange by society. And all of these arguments used against what we see today as kink at Pride are actually just stepping stones to larger discrimination against the LGBTQ community as a whole.
Really couldn't get that acronym out.
Yeah, I just kind of slipped on that cue.
Yeah.
Up furries and kinksters. Yeah.
Up furries and kinksters.
Take, for example, this article that was written just last year arguing against kink at Pride.
Unsurprisingly, the social media reaction to the suggestion that fetishists be formally included in pride marches was somewhat hostile. Many ordinary lesbian, gay, and bisexual people who have only laterally shed the stigma of being sexual deviants were angry at the association. Unlike homosexuals, people with fetishes have no history of discrimination, so one wonders what further rights or acceptance they wish to gain.
Seems like
Good
this article
question.
Yeah.
Good question.
What are you doing? Why?
How are you discriminated against? What rights are you being
People tell
denied?
them that they can't do that in public, and it makes them feel sad.
Yeah.
They're told that they're not allowed at Pride.
They say, hey, maybe you shouldn't choke yourself while jerking off. Like, that's kind of a bad thing. I know that gets you off, but you probably shouldn't do that. And they think that's discrimination.
Hateful.
Or people shake their head when they tell them they have an adult baby diaper fetish. That's discrimination. Also, nebulous violence, I guess.
Listen, a little homoerotic asphyxiation is fine.
Homoerotic
Homoerotic
you mean
what, choking gay people?
I mean, that's my fetish. Oh no.
Just like the good old days.
I got the word wrong, okay? Autoerotic. Leave me alone.
It
Why
was
do you
good.
think
It
I
was
hang
good.
out with you guys?
Very
That was
relevant.
good.
Gemini, are you doing a David Carradine right now?
Oh, no.
Don't do that.
Let's go.
Not at the moment.
Come on, 3 hours. We got to get this done.
It's pretty much just saying everything that we've been talking about, right? It's just saying all the arguments that I've laid out. But the article takes all that and goes a little bit further.
For many years, risque gay men have pushed the boundaries of public decency at pride marches with arseless chaps and egregious displays of exhibitionalism. But arguably, the addition of the T to the LGB has turbocharged this trend towards sexual display. It might not be politically correct to admit it, but for many men, transgenderism is a form of fetish, a step up from cross-dressing. It seems public sympathy for the former has opened the door to the latter. And hot on their heels, a host of fetishists have followed. Being sexually excited by the thought of oneself as a woman, or a rubber-clad sex slave or adult baby might be a genuine urge, but it is quite different from loving someone of the same sex.
Based.
Yeah, this is all based. This
Whoa.
is based.
Oh, boy.
The addition of the T to the LGB.
Yeah, that's a little
Genderism
spicy.
is a form of
fetish. A step up from cross-dressing.
Wowzers.
Blanchard strikes again.
Oh.
Can I just say, why is it pitched up? I thought it was to make it go faster, but it's actually not faster.
No, it's to make them sound like an idiot. Yeah.
That too.
Yeah, it's supposed to
Just
be
to
sound
distinguish
stupid,
the
but they're not
voice.
even doing it right. They're not really even doing it very well. Because it would be like, being sexually excited by the thought of oneself as a woman or a rubber-clad sex slave or an old baby might be a genuine urge. Like, if you're gonna make them sound like an annoying, if you're gonna make them sound like an annoying, if you're gonna make them sound like an annoying twat, go all the way and do the actual voice.
No, or actually just, do it in your normal voice, because Jessie Gender is a very annoying twat.
That works.
So that article goes from kinky to saying, well, being transgender or transsexual in their terms is just a fetish. It's just kink. You see, this argument about kink at pride.
Did they say?
I like how you were
For
describing
many
it basically
men.
homosexuality as a kink earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, they just
What was
said
your
many
definition
men.
of kink? What did she define kink as? Anything that's not
orientation.
heterosexual and not normal and not accepted by society.
Doesn't
And
feel
didn't
good
she-
when
and-
it's on
and-
your foot
and
now, does it?
Didn't she
Hang on,
equate
hang on.
homosexuality with the same sort of criteria? And now that someone else has compared transgenderism to the same criteria, it's not good anymore?
Yeah, she was just railing against, that big kink is basically everything that's not hetero normal. So, that's why kink should be allowed. But I don't like this person describing me being not normal and not hetero as a fetish, as a kink. What do you want? What the fuck do you want?
Woman moment.
Woman moment.
Woman moment.
Oh.
Think that gender euphoria.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's what you
don't
get.
know what they want.
That's what you get, Jesse. You made your bed with leather sheets. Now lie on them and get stuck.
Oh, that would be kind of uncomfortable though. Like
Yeah.
if you sweat, it's gonna stick to your body, and
Slept
it's
on
like
a leather
ugh.
couch. It's not comfortable.
Ugh. Yeah,
It's not good.
All right, so we got one pin down. Let's see if we get to any more pins.
Pride isn't simply an intellectual one. It's a very real and violent one. All the arguments used against kink that I outlined are the same exact arguments being used against trans people and weaponized against trans people today. In 2017, TERF lesbians marched in front of the Pride in London parade, demanding that transgender people be pushed out of Pride because we're kinky, a sexual fetish that's deeply misogynistic. We're seeing...
Wait, hang on. No, that's not true.
Yeah, wait a minute. Let's go back to that picture. Let's read those signs. There we
See, lesbian equals female homosexual. Get
Lesbian, not queer.
No.
Is that
women, not sex objects, and get the L out from the misogynist LGBT.
Yeah, I think so.
And then one woman's wearing a shirt. They're wearing shirts. Lesbian isn't queer, which all of that makes sense. lesbian. A lesbian is a female homosexual. It's not the same as whatever the hell queer is. Women should not be viewed merely as sex objects because they shouldn't be viewed at all. And
in public, on the street.
And
without a hijab.
I agree. Get the lesbians away from the gays and bisexuals.
Is that a fat Mitch McConnell? Like right, just a little off to the center there.
So bad.
Kinda.
I'm still looking. I can't find Bruce Valanche in this picture. I can't.
Well, he's not a lesbian.
I just want to say, holy shit, that person in the bottom middle, Ellen really aged hard, didn't she?
Oh no!
All those abuse allegations really hit her hard.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, Ellen looks like King Joffrey from Game of Thrones now.
Oh my god!
This is true though.
It is very true.
It's not incorrect, but it's terrible.
It's true, but you shouldn't say that.
That transgender people be pushed out of Pride because we're kinky, a sexual fetish that's deeply misogynistic. We're seen as narcissistic men trying to take over Pride from women and the gays. Literally every video I do on turf.
Well, there's a little word you may have heard of, autogynephilia.
Oh, Teddy, don't get started on that.
Hold up. Let's slow down.
Another day. Maybe we'll do a video on that. I don't know.
And trans issues, I'm called a narcissist for wanting to make it all about me. And trying to make you deal with my fetish, my creepy sexualized act. When I'm just trying to point out the discrimination faced by not just trans people, but LGBTQ people as a whole. If anything, I'm more a narcissist for being a YouTuber than I am for being.
Yeah,
come on, she's like pissed because
you're in front of a
everyone's
camera
telling
in
her it's a
leather
fetish.
gear,
showing your tits.
showing your and talking
This
about
is
your
what
vagina.
she wants.
Like, yeah.
No, but she's complaining that people are like calling out her fetishization. It's like, yeah, but that's what you're asking for.
Yeah,
that's what you want at Kink, right? So why are you pissed now all of a sudden that people are reducing being trans to a fetish? Well, you're trying to reduce being gay to a fetish. Does she just not get it? Is she incapable of introspection?
Apparently.
Fuck me.
Trans. But TERFs and society as a whole are arguing that we're forcing our fetish onto unconsenting eyes just by being trans people in a space. TERFs argue that trans women aren't discriminated against because we're just men who can take off our makeup at the end of the day. And we're seen as hurting the children with our sexual fetish. I mean, look at all these anti-trans laws, such as the law that just passed in Tennessee that will force businesses to place signs on their doors saying they let people of either biological sex use the bathroom, which feeds into the narrative of trans people as sexual deviants trying to hurt the children, trying to hurt women in these private spaces. That's
Wait, there's signs that say they let people of either
sex.
I think the law. I read up on this law a while ago. So the law states if you are a business that allows trans people to use the bathroom of the sex they identify as, you have to put up a sign notifying people this bathroom is allowed to be used by both.
Unisex.
So basically, like tell people, like, hey, heads up.
Yeah,
this is a unisex bathroom.
It's not unisex, but it's like, just so you know, there may be trans people in here.
Yeah, but so then to bring to Jesse's point where they're like, oh, well, they're seeing us as sexual fetishists. Gabble's point and the point that we've made like 1,000 times already. It's what you're asking for.
Yeah,
that's what you're asking for, and this is what happens when you ask for that and you get what you want. Hey, aren't you happy?
Yeah. They can't be satisfied. It's always not. It's never enough for these kinds of people.
She should be saying is yes, it is a fetish, and you should accept it.
Yeah, if she really sticking to her guns.
Yeah, and I would, at least respect that.
Yeah, but once again, I mean, this bathroom bill you're complaining about. That's the effect. That's the effect of what you're asking for this whole video. There
yes, this is what I've been saying.
There you go. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. That's what happens.
It's a rhetoric being used against trans people that by affirming transgender healthcare, it's hurting the kids. By letting trans people in sports, we're hurting the children. That transness is a sexual deviancy used to hurt the children.
It is hurting children, though.
Yeah, it kind of
is. That like there are actual side effects, negative side effects, and negative consequences of this stuff being pushed onto children. Measurable biological harms. And I know you guys don't like to use biology unless it suits your little craziness or whatever, but there are physiological, and biological consequences, negative consequences as a result of the things that you are pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Things that are your fault, Jesse.
And that's all true. And then just to kind of separate that out from what Jesse is saying right now with calling it like that, they're calling it a sexual deviancy. Again, you get the lie in the bed that you made.
Exactly.
Sorry.
You bring kink you bring this shit to a public event, an event that should be for helping people, especially young people, feel good about themselves, feel less shame and less suicidal thoughts over how terrible they feel because they feel like an outcast or a freak.
Yeah.
This is the thing you get. This is what you get, and you deserve every little inch of it.
I love this part of the video because we just get to say that over and over and over again. Let's try not to say that. We just said it like 4 times in a row.
If we let others dictate to us what is sexual, what is appropriate, then it can quickly escalate and destroy the entire point of what Pride is in the first place. Because you see, even what we see as kinky stuff outside of the LGBTQ context isn't always sexual. Sometimes people just like to wear fun outfits and costumes, and you're the one that's finding it overtly sexual. As celebrated trans theorist Julia pointed out on Twitter, I'm waiting for the point in the No Kink at Pride discourse where we consider how weaponizing consent to call out people we see but don't interact with, who are also dressed too sexual in our minds, potentially dilutes legitimate claims of non-consent in cases of actual sexual violence. Also, the fact that we're even having this discussion why IRL TERFs actually claim, using disproven AGP theory, that because trans women are supposedly, quote, perpetually aroused, end quote, by wearing women's clothing, our very presence in public is tantamount to a non-consensual sex act. When I see people in public wearing wedding rings, they are, quote, non-consensually involving me in their sexual relationships.
Woman moment, cope, ratio, L, no bitches, no penis.
It gets conflated with sexual violence. Respectability
I think we're just blowing, but you know what? This could be an argument that totally blows what we just said out of the water or whatever. We're just ignoring it.
Who's mad? Load out your ad. Who's mad? Who's mad?
I'm not saying we expose
Alright, we're back.
I'm just saying that we shouldn't be putting shame into kids about what it's like to feel like you're a part of the LGBTQ community. That we can talk about sex and sexuality in a healthy way. And I'm also saying that what we talk about to kids is always debated.
Right. We can talk about sex and sexuality in a healthy fucking way without showing it and shoving it down the throats of small children and parents and family members. You degenerate psychopath!
Teddy, your blood pressure is so high. Did you eat a lot of salt today? You gotta be careful.
Like I'm this close to going full on breaded.
This is full on breaded.
Keep it breaded. Keep it breaded.
You never come back from going full on breaded.
God damn it. It's pissing me off. It's pissing me off.
Serenity now.
We're gonna lose Tenny. No.
Always being told to us what is right or wrong. Because today, being transgender isn't socially acceptable in many parts of the world. It's seen as the sexual deviancy. But it used to be lesbians, gay folks, bisexuals that were seen as kinky and needing to be hidden away.
And do you know how we overcame that? Do you know, motherfucker, how we overcame that?
We already talked about this.
We talked about it so many times.
Yeah, I
It's kind of like a repetitive part of the
it's
this is so repetitive. We tricked us into being repetitive.
To not expose the children to our creepy fetish, when honestly, exposing children to LGBTQ identities is not only okay, but it's important. Pride is meant to make those uncomfortable analyze their uncomfortability. This outfit, for example, that I've been wearing this whole video probably made some of you uncomfortable. Hell, it's made me feel uncomfortable, as I talked about before. This isn't a costume that I would wear during sex. This really isn't the sexual thing that I would do. You know, this is just a fun costume for me to wear in this video.
By the way, all these super repetitive points that she's going over, this is all the shit that she was talking about earlier that she needs to put a pin in. She didn't put a pin in it. She's restating what she said before and said
she's just rehashing all of her garbage opinions.
Yeah, this is just nothing. This video sucks.
When I want sex, I have my Supergirl and Star Trek onesies for that. But that's the point.
Oh, no.
The reaction against me sharing my body as a woman, as a trans person, and as someone who has sexual agency is subversive because society has made...
All right, let's take bets right now. I haven't seen this whole video. Are we going to see the Supergirl onesie?
If we are, I'm going to gouge my eyes out and call in sick tomorrow.
No.
It's a tank top.
Only if we say please, Dick.
Okay. Let's see. Home stretch, boys and girl.
Made it so. Women should be able to show their breasts in public just like men can show their nipples. Trans people should be able to exist in public spaces like YouTube videos just like cis folks. And this costume is only a hair more risque than items that I've seen being sold at Target around Halloween. But it's only in these specific contexts, when it comes to
Fuck
LGBTQ
off.
identities or these spaces, that you see it as something sexual. That you see it as something that makes you uncomfortable. Analyze why you're uncomfortable, because that's the point. It's not our job to hide it away in the closet.
It's your job to not be a fucking degenerate in public, you piece of shit.
Yeah, it's your job to just keep it in your pants. That's like the lowest bar.
This is backwards logic. This is not how society works.
Well, it's like, I'm wearing
Society
a
just
naughty
needs to-
costume. You need to analyze your uncomfortable. Fuck you.
Yeah, okay. Society sets the norms. You break the norms. It is not society's job to adapt to your proclivities. It's just not. It's not a good argument.
It's just,
dare I say, it's kind of stupid.
It's pretty stupid.
It's
kinda.
You should just get used to it. Okay, why? Why should
Remember,
I get
yeah,
used to it?
Yeah, why
why?
should 99% of people get used to the 1% of people being breaching all of the laws and social customs that we've built up over the years of our civilization? Why should everybody else bend over backwards till their spine is cracked just to make you feel a little bit better? You, however, have an obligation as a member of society to actually fit in with the rest of us so that you can fully participate as a full human being and a full citizen.
Just remember, Jesse, like, this is the type of person, huge new Trek fan. They're being catered to.
That's like the worst part. Though.
I know, that's
It's
the
by
worst.
far
Yeah,
the
that's even
worst
worse than this
part of this
video.
person's personality, the fact that they like new Star Trek.
Which is,
I find that
she's
more
just-
offensive than anything that's been said here. Personally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the most offensive part. But just like every big franchise right now is just catering to people like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just every single thing is being just directed at them, and like, what more do you want? What do you want? You got everything. You got Star Wars. You got Star Trek. You took it all away. You ruined it. You got Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, you've got garbage media, garbage pop culture shit. You've got
you got Battlefield.
Like it's
got Ghostbusters from us.
It's you've got everything. You're like there's this old fairy tale, the fisherman and his wife.
Marvel Comics.
Yeah. There's this. So it's gonna be a little bit weird, but you'll get what I'm saying. So there's this old fairy tale about a fisherman who catches this magical fish, and the fish says, "Don't catch me, don't cook and eat me. I'll grant you anything you want." And so the fisherman goes back to his wife, and the wife says, "Well, okay, get me, and I wish for a nice new dress." And so he goes back to the fisherman, the fish, and the fish gives his wife a nice new dress, and then the wife's not satisfied. And so she says, "Okay, give us a nice big house." Then she wishes for a mansion, she wishes for a palace, then a castle. And then she wishes for tons of gold. And every time the fish keeps granting wishes. And until they're the richest, most famous, most beautiful, most well-dressed people in the whole country. And then finally the wife says, "Go make me Pope, husband." And then so fisherman goes to the fish, and the fish says, "No, you clearly could not be content with what you have. And so you will get nothing. All of this I've given you, I will take back from you." And when the fisherman goes back to his wife, she's sitting there dressed in rags, with her ugly hook nose and her snaggletooth, and in their ramshackle cottage by the side of by the seaside.
But did they get to keep all their bondage gear?
But the moral of the story is, learn to be content with the things around you. Stop being so unsatisfied, because people like
Also-
Jesse can never be satisfied.
Be sure that the fish you caught isn't Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then when you ask to be
They're gonna
Pope,
fuck
they're
your day
like,
up.
dude,
Yeah,
uncool.
Excuse me, you're not getting communion now.
The only version of that I know is where it ends with him saying, "I wish you were delicious."
Oh. It's for you to understand why you're uncomfortable and choose to engage or not engage with it. But that's your choice, not mine. Kink is an inherent part of pride. Not only because every LGBTQ identity was considered kinky at some point, not only because it's a healthy part of human interaction, but because kink reminds us of what we are all still fighting against. The right to exist publicly without being seen as sexual, political, or shameful. To have pride in everything
Then
that
stop
it means
doing
to
what
be
you're
human.
doing.
Yeah.
Especially the parts of us that are kinky.
I want to be kinky, but it's not
If
sexual.
you want to be, if you want to be seen as normal, be normal. Learn to
be normal.
participate. Learn to participate in society like the rest of us.
Jesus Christ.
So what's,
Just put on a t-shirt and jeans. You'll be fine.
Oh, we do get to see it.
We do get to see it.
Wow.
Oh
I was
no.
wrong. We didn't
You
even
know what's
put-
fun? Oh god, it just showed up for me. The
I
video
didn't
was
even
up.
say please. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh
Suck
no.
at
There
this.
was. Oh,
We didn't
and
have
the
consent.
Vulcan.
Ah, sweet.
There wasn't consent there.
There was not consent. We did not consent.
But
You
we
just
chose
told
to
us.
come to this video. Okay. She chose to click on
She
it.
just told us this is what she wears when she has sex.
Oh, well, no. She told.
Thank you.
She said she had a Supergirl
patrons,
outfit.
executive
Supergirl outfit.
producers.
Okay.
Are these
It's
are
no cape there.
people who worked on
I
the
swear,
editing?
if I
right?
recognize any names on this list, I swear.
I think that's just a tier of their Patreon.
Okay, I'm about to say, no way did 20 people work on this video.
No, hell no. Oh, is
This
this
was
the
made in their
focus group
basement.
is this the focus group that told her like, hey, listen, that consent part and the part about kids, you gotta add something in there because this is how
Kinda
it's
cringe.
Yeah.
It kind of
bro.
You're gonna go on a
Sis?
watch list. If you put
Yeah,
this
this is
out
the whole CIA department.
Yeah, these are all CIA names.
Also, I
They're
just
all-
wanted to.
These are all
I wanted
feds.
to make the. Oh, what?
Fed posting.
I just wanted to make the joke for you guys because you guys didn't, and I'm surprised you didn't. About some people, their sex gear and this kink stuff. It's not even sexual for some people. Yeah, like fursuits.
Shut up. Get out of here. You know what? I don't even think we need to do a conclusion.
Okay.
We don't even need to do a conclusion on this video. Seriously, though, do we? Because we just repeated ourselves.
No,
about
we
80
don't need to
times.
do a conclusion on this. Like, there is nothing else that we could possibly say aside from be
Unless,
fucking normal, you degenerate.
Unless Tenny, do you have another 20-minute fish story or?
Like,
I could make up a 20-minute fish story.
Like,
please
if you
no.
want.
Are we just gonna say goodbye, boys? At this point? 'Cause
I think we've said just about everything you said, but yeah,
Oh my
overall,
God.
just really repetitive, really weak, very inconsistent logically. I don't think I learned anything.
Very narcissistic.
Very narcissistic.
yeah, there is. What else can you really say to this except be normal?
I think that's it. I think
Yeah.
we're done.
It's
so.
Goodbye, boys and girls.
We are
Bye,
done
Bubbles.
with you, Jesse.
Done with Jessie.
Bye.
Gender.
We're done with this. Fuck this.